Chapter 471. The troops of Dark Bamboo left Mt Dingjun as soon as possible. They didn't even greet anyone before they left. "Little Yu, how was our harvest this time?" Jun Shizhu insipidly asked. "Not bad. Our total income is more than 3 billion. We recruited 11 king-level experts and 45 venerable-level experts." Duke Yu faintly smiled and said, "Several emperor-level experts have appeared. However, they are all people of big clans. I have no interest in making a move against them." Jun Shizhu nodded with a smile and said, "It's already good. The harvest this time was beyond my expectations." She pondered for a moment. Then she changed the subject and said, "You went to see that King of Hell Chu. If my guess is right, most of this fight should be King of Hell Chu's handiwork. What do you think?" Duke Yu frowned and said, "Yes. I didn't see anything else. But King of Hell Chu's grasp of human nature is extremely accurate. Moreover, King of Hell Chu is a person who only believes in his own strength. The possibility of him accepting outside help isn't very big." Jun Shizhu replied with an "oh." She then fell into contemplation. She said after a long while, "Send someone to watch him. People always have weaknesses. And they always need help. It's better to do this than to say it in advance. This good karma must be formed." Duke Yu sighed and said, "It's not good to not form this good karma. After all, he's my creditor now." "Creditor?" Jun Shizhu twisted her eyebrows and said, "You lost to him?" Duke Yu spread out his hands. "Did you think that Gao Sheng would lose to GMO before this fight?" Jun Shizhu smiled. "So that's how it is." She pondered for a moment. She recalled the state of Gao Sheng and GMO when they had first entered the arena. Then she sighed and said, "No." Duke Yu sighed, "I also thought that he wouldn't. So I lost. Moreover, the most depressing thing is, that bastard Gao Sheng obviously had a big killing weapon. But he was defeated by anger. He didn't even use his killing move. That's why I'm so depressed." "You mean that Gao Sheng has successfully practiced that mysterious martial art of the Gao clan?" Jun Shizhu's eyes turned sharp. "He hasn't practiced it. He can practice it," Duke Yu said, "but it's easy to deal with GMO even though he has just entered the entry level. However, this martial art required a state of mind of ice and snow in order to unleash its power. The moment he went on stage, he was as angry as an exploding pig. How was he supposed to use it? I'm so angry, so angry." Thinking about how he had originally obtained those 2 pieces of jade at the lowest price, but now he had to pay such a high price. Moreover, all of this was because Gao Sheng could win but didn't. Duke Yu wanted to vomit blood. "It would be strange if King of Hell Chu didn't ferociously search my tongue on the way to the northernmost region given his personality." When Duke Yu thought about how his wealth was about to shrink because of an injustice, he wanted to tear Gao Sheng apart alive. Jun Shizhu faintly replied with an "oh." Then she began to ponder. It was unknown what she was thinking. Duke Yu looked at her expression, examined the world-defying stage for a while and said, "How have you been recently?" Jun Shizhu knitted her brows in a tired manner. She then said, "I'm fine. Let's see if this spirit beast disappoints me or not." Duke Yu revealed a pensive look in his eyes. He then said, "I'm afraid that there's something fishy about the appearance of a spirit beast in the northernmost region this time. You have to be fully prepared." Jun Shizhu closed her eyes and said, "What's not fishy? We've come here from a fishy place. You have to take good care of Alu when the time comes. You can make your move if I don't succeed." Duke Yu exposed a warm smile and said, "I'm going to Alu's side." Jun Shizhu didn't speak. Duke Yu quietly disappeared. Chu Yang had been busy in the middle of the night to make this mask. It was neither gold nor silver and was extremely exquisite. It didn't feel suffocating when worn on the face. Instead, it felt relaxed and comfortable. Well, it was natural to prepare some heavenly weapons since it was the heavenly armament pavilion. Therefore, Chu Yang concocted a pile of short sabers and short swords. These sabers were truly short. In fact, they were almost pocket-sized. The longest one was as long as a palm, and the shortest one was as big as a finger. Finally, he made several tokens. Clouds and mist were curling up on them. A sword was flashing with golden light in the midst of the clouds and mist. It was faintly discernible. It was unparalleled in the world. The 3 words Heavenly Armament Pavilion were engraved in a flamboyant style. The word, 1, was engraved in a circle at the bottom left. The first token of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion went all the way to the command token. Chu Yang decided that this should be it for the time being. The quality of the soldiers was more important than the quantity. The brothers would enter the world hand in hand. Early the next morning, Chu Yang issued this token to everyone. Gu Duxing was number 2, GMO was number 3, Dong Wuxiang was number 4, Luo Kudi was number 5, and Ru Butong was number 6. Rui Butong wasn't here. So Chu Yang kept his token for the time being. There's one thing you must remember. Chu Yang said seriously, there's a purple crystal space inside this token that can be opened. I've put a life-saving pill inside. If you encounter any unexpected situation, take the pill and escape immediately. He said heavily, the heavenly armament pavilion belongs to our world-defying heavens. But I don't want you to get hurt. No matter what the situation is, you must remember that your life is the most precious. Missions and organizations are all fleeting clouds. I want to move unhindered with my brothers. I don't want to cry and take revenge while hugging my brothers' corpses. Do you remember? Yes. The 4 of them answered together. At this moment, everyone's eyes were shining. From these words they could clearly feel Chu Yang's intentions. Next, everyone was given a short knife and a short sword. Although they were small, they could cut through iron like mud. They were even sharper than their own long swords. Luo Kudi and GMO turned them over and over again. Dong Wuxiang and Gu Duxing took a look and kept them. Then the masks were given out one by one. The brothers' masks were all different. Dong Wuxiang and Gu Duxing had grim expressions on their faces, while Luo Kudi and Gu Duxing were smiling from ear to ear. As for Chu Yang himself, he was expressionless. Everyone liked it very much. Big brother, what's the purpose of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion? GMO asked. This question was obviously what everyone was most concerned about. They all raised their heads and looked at Chu Yang. The temporary purpose is to expand and recruit experts. The ultimate purpose is to conquer the 3 heavens. Chu Yang said casually, for us, as long as we quickly increase our strength, it should be very easy. It should be very easy? The 4 of them were dumbstruck as they looked at Chu Yang. Big brother Chu, these words are really easy to say. Among the younger generation you can be considered as one of the best. But in the 3 heavens, I am nothing. Right now we have to spread the name of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Chu Yang cautiously reminded, before your strength reaches a certain level, don't reveal your true identity. He didn't need to say this. Everyone understood. From today onwards, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion will take action. Then in the near future, I will use all means to carry out special training for all of you. Chu Yang's eyes were burning. Your cultivation progress is really too slow. The 4 of them were speechless. Our current progress has already scared a lot of people in the 3 heavens. But compared to Big Brother, it is indeed a little slow. The shortest is half a year. The latest is 1 year. Rush to the Emperor level. Then rush to the Monarch level. Chu Yang's eyes were like lightning. Train under my command. After a year, whoever is below the Emperor level will automatically become a logistician of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. They will serve the brothers. Any service. Even Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang were surprised by such a goal. This was simply unrealistic, as if it was a dream. Even Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang were confident that they could reach the Emperor level within 10 years. In fact, it would be very good if they could reach the Emperor level within 10 years. But Big Brother had actually proposed a goal of 1 year. Wasn't this too outrageous? Believe me, I can do it. I can make you do it. Chu Yang looked at the 4 of them. Before meeting me, did you think that you could reach your current level in such a short time? The 4 of them lowered their heads and pondered. Yes, before meeting Big Brother, who would have thought that they could reach the king level from the Great Master level in a year and a half? This was something that they wouldn't have dared to dream about. Chu Yang smiled mischievously. The facts will prove to you. It's useless to say more now. Do you still remember my training method? From today onwards, every day will be the same. Half of you will go out and the other half will train. And so on. And so the matter was settled. They had been hurrying on the road for the entire day. The Gu clan had already pulled some distance away from the other clans. It was worth mentioning that Chu Yang had gotten 5 pieces of star steel, each weighing 500 kilograms. Then he had given each of them 1 piece to carry on their journey. They weren't allowed to ride horses. They could only walk on foot. Dong Wuxiang was the most miserable. That was because he had a huge saber weighing 570 kilograms. Moreover, Chu Yang had a strict rule: even if you die of exhaustion, you mustn't breathe carelessly. Chu Yang also carried a piece of star steel on his back. Mo Qingwu followed beside Chu Yang, smiling cheerfully. She accompanied him all the way. Whenever she saw sweat on Chu Yang's forehead, she would quickly take out a handkerchief and carefully wipe it for him. Chu Yang had wanted to let her sit in a carriage. But the sword spirit firmly stopped him. Let her run. Slowly exhaust her physical strength and martial arts until her 3E meridian reaches its limit. Then let her injuries flare up again. That way we can treat her in advance. After running for the entire morning, when it was time for lunch, even someone like Gu Duxing didn't sweat anymore. At first he used his spiritual energy. Later on his spiritual energy was used up. Then he used his physical strength. Then his physical strength was used up again. Just by running for the entire morning, Gu Duxing actually felt that he had broken through the limits of his physical body a few times. Dong Wuxiang was even worse. When he was eating, his legs were trembling slightly. He drank half a vat of water in one go. When GMO and Luo Kudi arrived, they almost fainted. They hurriedly wanted to take this big thing off their bodies. But they were sternly stopped by Chu Yang. Eat, drink, and rest. No one is allowed to take it off. This sentence made GMO and Luo Kudi howl in grief at the same time. This chapter is a bit dull as a foreshadowing and a wedge for the subsequent plot. But it can't be too little. I tried to write it as simply as possible. I revised it for a long time. But this chapter really can't be written other than preparation and foreshadowing. Chapter 472. Chu Yang was also very tired, but he had to endure it. If he showed any signs of not being able to bear it, then this training session would end without any results. They ate lunch and rested for more than an hour. This little bit of time was insignificant for the 4 people who had just been tortured. In the afternoon they started to run for their lives again. Gu Duxing, Dong Wuxiang, GMO, and Luo Kudi were even more desperate. Because Bosch Chu had said, "When you guys were martial great masters, I was a martial warrior. But now we are at the same level. You guys are not working hard, so it can be seen from this. From now on, if my cultivation is 1 level higher than yours, then I will add another 100 kilograms to your back. If you are 2 levels higher, then you will add another 100 kilograms, and so on and so forth." These words made the brothers speechless. Chu Yang's speed was monstrous. Wouldn't they be looking for trouble if they tried to compete with him? But Bosch Chu was right. They were also human. Their fast progress was due to their diligence. If they were overtaken again, they would lose face. The consequence of this was that by the afternoon, the few of them were on the verge of collapsing. After eating dinner, they rested until their bodies were no longer sweating. Chu Yang then showed mercy and let the brothers put down the star iron. Once they put it down, their bodies immediately became light as if they were about to fly away. Luo Kudi lay on the ground facing the sky and let out a long sigh. He sighed and said, "This is happiness?" GMO looked at him with disdain. He really didn't have the strength to say anything. "Damn it, you don't feel happy even when you eat all kinds of delicacies. Today you put down a big stone and you are happy? I can't help but want to add 2 sentences here, not counting the words. When I was in the army, I trained for more than 12 hours a day. Every day I was so tired that I wanted to die. But when I lay on the bed at night, I immediately felt a kind of touching happiness. Especially when my back touched the bedboard, I felt so happy that I almost fainted. I miss that feeling so much." After resting for a while, Chu Yang, the highest leader of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, took Dong Wuxiang and GMO out. The 3 of them started to make a name for themselves. Only Gu Duxing and Luo Kudi were left in the Gu clan's tent. Gu Duxing sat cross-legged in meditation, working hard to circulate his energy. He could feel that today's training had made him extremely tired. Although he had broken through a few limits, there was no obvious effect. Instead, it made his body more burdened. She recalled Chu Yang's words, "This kind of training will definitely be difficult to adapt to in the beginning. But once he got used to it, it was only after 7 days that he could clearly see where his improvement was. All his sweat was not for nothing." Luo Kudi, on the other hand, was pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back. The 10 sovereigns of the Gu clan looked at their young master and his friends with a complicated expression. Everyone's eyes were filled with admiration. No one dared to even think about such training. It would really tire them to death. However, these youngsters didn't hesitate and risked their lives. Even when they were young, when they were most fearless, how many of them were able to do this? He had become a king-level expert at the age of 10 or 20. So, how could he have achieved it by relying on his family's status and luck? Then Gu Duxing began to talk to the 10 king-level experts of his clan one by one. He wanted to understand everyone's mentality and arouse everyone's lofty sentiments. Gu Duxing had a thought: tie the Gu clan to the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's world-defying heavens. This might be the only way out for the Gu clan. During these days in the upper 3 heavens, Gu Duxing felt the awkwardness of the Gu clan. Almost every other clan had an emperor-level expert overseeing the clan. Only the Gu clan didn't have one. It was true that he was doing well among the younger generation of the upper three heavens. But what would he do if the emperor-level expert of the other clans made a move? Therefore many clan masters couldn't compare to him at all. But their backs were strong. This had nothing to do with one's cultivation. It was completely due to their solid foundation. This was the true wealth of a clan. Wanting to rely on one's own efforts to develop the clan was simply unrealistic. But the Heavenly Armament Pavilion had created such an opportunity. Gu Duxing firmly believed that Chu Yang would definitely lead the Heavenly Armament Pavilion into the upper three heavens. If the Gu clan's experts could enter the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, it would be better than fighting alone. Then it would be much better than fighting alone. Moreover, it could also be considered as giving an account to his foster father. Therefore, Gu Duxing put all of his efforts into the 3 words Heavenly Armament Pavilion. If it succeeded, it would succeed. If it didn't, it would be a struggle for him and his brothers. Whether it succeeded or not, having this experience in this life, having such a magnificent feat, and having brothers to accompany him, he would have no regrets in this life. Recently, there was news from the clan that Sister Xiao Miao's situation had improved a lot. With his rising fame, Sister Xiao Miao had been released from the cold ice cave. But she was confined at home and was not allowed to show her face in public. It was obvious that the old guys in the clan were still angry. But Gu Duxing was already very satisfied in his heart. He was very relieved. Wait until I reach the emperor level. I will immediately marry Sister Xiao Miao. Be my wife. As for those old fogies in the clan, they can retire. While Gu Duxing was working hard, Chu Yang and the other 2 were also wantonly sweeping and robbing. Along the way, everyone was going to the extreme north. None of them were mediocre. Of course, the value of their belongings was also not low. From time to time, some of them would come alone or in groups of 3 or 5. Then they would be captured and robbed. Moreover, the robbers were very open and above board. They would wear strange masks, throw down the 3 words Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and swagger away. Only the people who had been robbed were left behind. They wanted to cry but had no tears. Some of them resisted fiercely. In fact, some of them even put their lives in danger. From this night onwards, this road was bound to be filled with fear and trepidation. The powerful appearance of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and the actions of the hoodlums and robbers, had made countless people's complexions change. When the news of a 7th grade king-level expert being robbed came out, everyone was full of shock. Heavenly Armament Pavilion. What kind of organization is this? It was already late at night. Everyone was quietly resting. Suddenly, a white shadow came from behind. It was faintly discernible and graceful. It was like an immortal riding on the waves. It suddenly descended from the sky with the wind. This person was a graceful woman. Moreover, it was obvious that she had chased them from Mt. Dingjun. She had broken into the camps of several clans along the way. After entering, she asked, "Who knows Chu Yang? Is Chu Yang here?" At most, she would add an explanation. He is the man who has just exposed the evil of the Meng clan on Mt. Dingjun. Most people didn't know who Chu Yang was. Therefore she inquired and chased him all the way. She finally caught up with the people of the Ao clan when the curtain of night fell. This woman's cultivation was very high. At least, the experts of the Ao clan felt that her aura was very strong. They couldn't match her strength. Therefore Ao Xie personally came out to negotiate. Chu Yang? Ao Xie frowned. Why are you looking for him? I want to settle an account with him. That woman snorted and replied. He isn't here. You can look for the teams of the Ji clan, Luo clan, Gu clan, and Dong clan if you want to look for him. Brother Chu must be in one of those clans. Ao Xie politely pointed out the direction. Therefore, the white-clothed woman immediately left. Then she looked for the slowest Ji clan. Grand Duke Jiju was drowsy. So he obviously didn't know. Therefore she left and went forward. This woman was Yang Ruolan. She had just returned from the lower 3 heavens. After passing through the lower 3 heavens, she naturally wanted to settle the account with that heartless man of her junior sister. She had never seen such a heartless man before. Not only did he not have the slightest bit of tenderness and sweetness, he even acted as if he did not know anything at all. There were many things that he didn't know. But could he be irresponsible just because he didn't know? That was his child. Yang Ruolan remembered that she had lost her child, and had been depressed all these years. She had always been frowning. She had wanted to find her child, but hadn't been able to. So, she hated these irresponsible people who didn't know how to cherish their child. How enviable was this familial happiness that everyone envied? How could you be so wasteful? Yang Ruolan really wanted to grab Chu Yang and ask him, "Are you still a human? Do you still have any conscience?" After passing by the teams of the Luo clan and the Dong clan, Yang Ruolan finally had a clear target. It seemed that he should be at the Gu clan. The next step was easy. After passing by a team, she asked, "Are they from the Gu clan?" If they weren't, she continued to chase. She chased until the middle of the night. Then she finally saw a campsite in front. Yang Ruolan floated down and walked towards the campsite. At this moment, Luo Kadi had just strolled back to his tent. He was waiting for Chu Yang and the others to come back. He was fantasizing in his heart. Robbing, that would be fun. I don't know if I can get a share of the loot when I come back. He became dispirited as he thought about it. Occasionally he would go out for a stroll. He saw that the moon was high in the sky. But they hadn't come back yet. So he decided to sleep. At this moment he heard a cold and pleasant voice from outside. "May I ask if this is the Gu clan's residence?" Luo Kadi was startled. He replied reflexively, "Yes. Who are you?" "I finally found him." Yang Ruolan heaved a sigh of relief. "There's someone called Chu Yang. Is he here?" Luo Kadi laughed and said, "A what? Who's looking for me?" He wanted to say, "Who's looking for my big brother?" But Gu Duxing had already woken up. He heard that someone was looking for Chu Yang in the middle of the night. He couldn't help but shiver. He grabbed Luo Kadi's arm and said in a low voice, "Don't reveal big brother's whereabouts. Ask her what she wants first." But Gu Duxing stopped him a little too late. Luo Kadi had already said half of what he wanted to say. Therefore it should have been, "Who's looking for my big brother?" But after swallowing the second half it became, "Who's looking for me?" This wasn't the same meaning at all. It was completely at odds with each other, completely at odds with each other. The person outside seemed to be startled. Then she said, "You're Chu Yang?" Her voice had already become cold. It was filled with a murderous aura that was about to explode. So, she's here to seek revenge? Luo Kadi was immediately filled with pride. Motherfucker. Big brother isn't here. Let me deal with her for him. She dares to seek revenge in front of us brothers. Motherfucker. She must have eaten a leopard's guts. If I don't teach her a lesson, how can I show off my unrivaled prestige? Luo Kadi lifted the tent and walked out. He raised his nose to the sky and asked arrogantly, "Awu, Waha beauty, are you looking for me, Chu Yang?" "Ah. This Chu Yang is actually such a bastard." Yang Ruolan was so angry that she almost fainted. Junior sister, what kind of taste do you have?" Chapter 473. Big brother, what should we do? Dong Wuxiang asked in a low voice. Chu Yang pondered for a moment and said, "I haven't asked what that spirit beast is. But it seems that it's very important to the Meng clan. Moreover, I'm afraid that it's useful to all the clans. Otherwise, that old man wouldn't have said the words even if we have to risk our lives." Dong Wuxiang and GMO nodded. Every clan of the three heavens has many king-level experts like this. But it would be a big mistake to say that they can be sacrificed at will. That's because these clans are basically supported by king-level experts. And they are backed by emperor-level experts. But it's unknown if there are more powerful ones. "Wuxiang, there's no harm in talking about this matter," Chu Yang said. Dong Wuxiang nodded and said, "Big brother, there's a legend that you must know. Is that there used to be a big race in this layered heavens. And we humans are just a kind of them. And Ming Luo's kind of cultivation is clearly the remnant of the demon race. And there used to be a beast race. The present spirit beasts are the remnant bloodline of the original beast race. However, they are far from their original status. And there are very few transformed spirit beasts. In other words, the inheritance of the beast race doesn't exist in the three heavens. But the beast race used to produce heroes in large numbers when it was flourishing. Some powerful beast race used to take human women as concubines. And they multiplied and multiplied. Various races used to intermarry during the most chaotic times. So, the bloodlines became somewhat complicated as a result. Chu Yang nodded and listened patiently. There used to be a powerhouse who accidentally found a dying spirit beast. He drank its blood and refined its inner core. Then he found that he had inadvertently opened a new door. Dong Wuxiang took a deep breath and said, "It's a bloodline inheritance." Since then, humans have come to know that sometimes they can obtain formidable abilities by taking the blood of spirit beasts. And they can reach the heavens in a single bound if they can comprehend the strength of the beast race. And they can become experts. Therefore, the spirit beasts of the layered heavens have suffered since then. Chu Yang frowned and asked, how many times has this kind of thing happened? There are always dozens of cases. Moreover, some of them even wrote down their personal experiences. Dong Wuxiang laughed bitterly and said, so, this matter is irrefutable. Although there are quite a number of third heaven spirit beasts, there aren't many that are above the 7th grade. As for spirit beasts below the 7th grade, even if they were swallowed whole, they might not be able to activate any bloodline or obtain any inheritance. Now that a spirit beast has appeared, all the big clans will try their luck no matter what. Even if they can only obtain a little blood of a spirit beast, it will still be a little more hope. Dong Wuxiang sighed. Chu Yang nodded silently. I see. What would happen if I were to obtain the heritage and awaken my bloodline? 300 years ago there were 2 clans in the upper 3 heavens. One was the Miao clan and the other was the Mu clan. Both of them had activated their bloodline, and obtained the inheritance of the beasts. They directly swept through the upper 3 heavens, and finally brought their clans to kill their way to the upper 3 heavens. This shows how terrifying it is. Dong Wuxiang revealed an envious look in his eyes. After all, leading a clan to kill their way to the upper 3 heavens was the lead of every clan in the upper 3 heavens. He continued, the 2 clans caused a huge uproar in the upper 3 heavens. The Miao clan was recognized by the Li clan as an ally. Later they became in-laws and changed their name to Li. But 100 years later they were expelled by the Li clan, and more than half of their experts were killed. They returned to the upper 3 heavens and became the Li clan today. Li Xiongtu's clan. The other clan, the Mu clan, is smarter. It is still in the upper 3 heavens. I heard that it has become a second-class clan in the upper 3 heavens. Dong Wuxiang laughed mischievously. Chu Yang nodded. He took a deep breath and said, I finally understand. No wonder the birth of a second-grade spirit beast has caused such a huge uproar. It's not a big uproar. Who doesn't want to rush to the upper 3 heavens? Even if they go to the upper 3 heavens to be slaves, they will still fucking do it. Dong Wuxiang spat. You don't want to? Chu Yang smiled and asked, you don't want to lead the Dong clan to the upper 3 heavens? Dong Wuxiang's thick eyebrows raised and said, of course I want to. But I don't want to go to the upper 3 heavens as a slave. He said in a low and deep voice, I once thought that if I, Dong Wuxiang, want to go to the upper 3 heavens, then I'll trample over a clan in the upper 3 heavens. And I'll replace them. If I can't, then I'd rather not go. Chu Yang patted his shoulder. He faintly smiled and said, you can do it. GMO suddenly interjected from the side, you don't want to be a slave. But it doesn't mean that your clan doesn't want to. Wuxiang, I'm afraid that it won't be up to you even if you don't want to when that time comes. Dong Wuxiang looked up to the sky and heaved a long sigh. He patted his black saber with a desolate look on his face. It hasn't come to that time yet. Chu Yang insipidly said, besides, even if it comes to that time, it may not necessarily be the case. Come, let's go back. Chu Yang stood up. Big brother, what about the Meng clan's matter? GMO was startled. Send a letter to Duke Yu after we go back. Chu Yang said in a soft voice, I believe that he will know what to do. Moreover, let Du Xing leave behind a few people. Tell him that the Meng clan is ahead of us. And they may have already obtained the spirit beast's blood. Or they may have obtained it very early. We don't need to do anything. The Meng clan has a bad reputation. Sometimes you don't have to do it yourself to kill someone. GMO prostrated himself in admiration. Big brother is really smart. You're treacherous to a certain extent. The 3 of them returned to the Gu clan's tent. They found that the tent was in a mess. They couldn't help but be shocked. He quickly rushed in. They saw Luo Kudi lying inside. It was too horrible to look at. Chu Yang got angry and asked, what happened? Gu Du Xing wanted to say something but then hesitated. He stood up. He felt that it wasn't appropriate to speak. So he coughed a few times. Then he recounted everything that had happened a moment ago. Chu Yang immediately flew into a rage. What do you mean by rape and then abandon? Where did this come from? This is going too far. That woman should be an emperor-level expert. Gu Du Xing reminded. Emperor-level expert. It's not like I haven't killed an emperor-level expert. Chu Yang's eyes turned cold. Which direction did she go? How are the injuries of the wolf cub? The injuries aren't serious. This woman had a sense of propriety. Gu Du Xing said, they're basically flesh wounds. The biggest consequence is that he will suffer for a few days. He will be in endless pain. But he didn't suffer any serious injuries. It's just that his ribs are a bit troublesome. The wolf cub said that they were broken. But I checked and found that they weren't broken. I don't know what method she used to soften his ribs. So, 2 of them are stuck together. I'm afraid that this wolf cub would suffer a lot if we were to break them apart. Gu Duxing was also somewhat baffled. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy is really... Why didn't he just say that I wasn't here and ask that woman to wait for a while? Why did he have to take the blame for me? Chu Yang sighed. His heart felt warm. My brother would rather be killed than take the blame for me? Let me take a look at the wolf cub's injuries. Wushang, you tell Duxing about what happened just now. Chu Yang squatted down. Then he mobilized his spiritual power in his palm, and penetrated it into Luo Kudi's body. Luo Kudi mischievously smiled. It's okay, big brother. I would have let you come if I had known that she only wanted to beat you up. Aha, this feeling is really not good. Wu, shut up. Such a serious injury can't make you talk less. Chu Yang felt angry and amused at the same time. This guy's clowning had become a habit. He took out an incomplete version of the heavy pill from his bosom. Then he made this guy open his mouth and threw it in. Then he waited for the medicinal effect to circulate throughout his body. Then he suddenly put his hands on his chest. Then he separated the 2 ribs with a pop sound. Oh whoa! Luo Kudi roared in pain. His face was full of sweat. So, cool. The brothers couldn't help but laugh. Chu Yang angrily glared at him. Then he carefully examined him again. He found that there were no other injuries. There were only small dislocations in other places. Luo Kudi moved a few times. Then he jumped up. His toes touched the ground. He twisted a few times and moved his ankle. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. It doesn't hurt at all. It's really strange. It's a pity? What's a pity? GMO asked with a sidelong glance. Luo Kudi's face turned gloomy. Motherfucker, how come my feet don't hurt? It would have been great if my feet still hurt. Why? Even Dong Wushang was somewhat puzzled this time. How can you hope that your injuries won't get better? If my feet still hurt, I won't have to run with 1,000 pounds on my back tomorrow? Luo Kudi dejectedly said, I can ride on a horse and enjoy the sight of you carrying a mountain on your back. I can drink wine and eat meat. I can laugh and cheer you on. Before he could finish speaking, GMO and Dong Wushang greeted him with punches and kicks. Suddenly the brothers were in a mess. Mo Tianyun spurred his horse as fast as he could. He led his entourage of experts and rushed back to his clan in a dejected manner. Mo Tianji was also madly rushing back to his clan in another direction. This was the first time in history that 2 brothers had returned home at the same time. Mo Tianyun was unlucky along the way. He was so irritated that he started to kill people. Many people believed that Mo Tianyun had deliberately released a smokescreen when he had gambled on MT Dingjun because Gu Duxing wasn't injured at all. Motherfucker. Mo Tianyun had released such fake news. He was also the banker. Who knows how much he had made from this gamble? Therefore Mo Tianyun was a millionaire in the eyes of many people even though he was as poor as a church mouse. He was an incomparably fat piece of meat. The anger of being deceived, coupled with the greed for wealth, Mo Tianyun had already encountered 7 or 8 groups of people along the way. This had made Mo Tianyun want to vomit blood. Moreover, Mo Tianyun's mood had become even more gloomy as another piece of news had slowly spread over the past 3 days. It had reached the point where he couldn't feel better unless he committed suicide. Duke Tu Qianhao of the Tu clan had issued a bounty 3 days ago. Whoever could catch Mo Tianyun and let Duke Tu vent his anger would be rewarded with 10 million. This price wasn't low at all. It had made Duke Missouri Tianyun's journey even more difficult. There are only 2 updates today. There is one more thing that needs to be explained. I may stay up all night tonight. Tomorrow's update will be very early, because I will go to Jinan to pick up someone. Cough cough, a brother has gone to Japan to work. He will return home tomorrow. I haven't seen him for several years. So I must go. Chapter 474. The 7 fragrances bewitching spell could paralyze one's entire body. As long as one's cultivation wasn't at the monarch level, one couldn't use the spirit seed gathering technique. No one was an exception. Even if one was at the peak of the emperor level. Mo Wu Xian's entire body was trembling. He shouldn't be trembling after being hit by the 7 fragrances bewitching spell. However, he was so agitated that he managed to suppress the effects of the 7 fragrances bewitching spell. Although his entire body was still stiff and unable to move, He couldn't help but tremble instinctively. He couldn't speak anymore. However, there was a trace of regret in his eyes. He really wanted to say something. He had so many things to say. However, he couldn't say anything he wanted to say. You're not Emo Xingchen's son. You're my grandson. You're my son, Emo Xinghai's son. You're my direct descendant. When Emo Xingchen's wife gave birth, I took control of the entire Emo family and swapped you with the newborn baby. You're not Emo Xingchen's son. You're my grandson. For the sake of your position in the Emo family, this old man killed all those people. I even drowned the newborn baby and killed your own mother. Yi Emo thought to himself. Yi Emo shook his head. A few years ago your father, Emo Xinghai, died in an accident. I was the only one who knew about your origins. I've been good to you since you were young. Is there no reason? I'm an emperor-level expert. I'm supreme in the Emo family. Why would I be a dog for a kid who's still wet behind the ears? Am I really that cheap? Is there no reason? Is there no reason? Is there no reason? He was screaming in his heart. However, he couldn't say a single word. He had schemed against the Emo family for a generation. Who would have thought that he would die in the hands of his own grandson? That he would die in the hands of his own grandson whom he had nurtured with all his might? I've put in so much effort for him. I've racked my brains for him. I've killed countless people for him. I've been unreasonable. I've even done all sorts of bad things for him. And he's killed me in the end. Emo Wuxian suddenly felt that it was funny. This matter was too funny and ironic. If he could speak now, he would have laughed out loud. Laughing at the heavens, laughing at fate. Old dog, you still think it's funny? Emo Tianyun ferociously looked at Emo Wuxian and whispered, I hate to see you laugh. The saber had already been unsheathed. The saber light was like a dream. It was magnificent and resplendent. However, Emo Tianyun's hands were trembling. He did not know why his hands were trembling. Even his heart was trembling. But he quickly controlled his trembling. He was someone who had achieved great things. How could he tremble for an old dog like this? Even though he had done many things for him, an old dog was still an old dog, and an old dog was still a dog. It was just a dog. It was just a dog. That was all. Emo Tianyun clenched his teeth and thrust his saber forward with a dreamlike saber light. It pierced Soul Fighter's heart. He used so much force that a large piece of the saber actually came out of his back. Emo Wuxian's entire body shook. His pupils opened wide. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that when he went against his conscience and shielded Emo Tianyun to frame Emo Tianji and Emo Qingwu, and even swallowed his pride to snatch this saber from Emo Qingwu's hands, in the end, it was actually his own grandson who took Emo Qingwu's saber and stabbed it into his heart. Emo Tianyun coldly looked at Emo Wuxian's widened pupils. He coldly clenched his teeth. His pupils were somewhat frantic and confused. He fiercely said, Still not dead? Still staring at me? Do you think you won't die if you stare at me? Do you think I'm afraid? What? He said that he was not afraid, but his voice was trembling. Then he suddenly screamed. That was because Emo Wuxian had recovered his ability to move. He did not know where his strength came from. But he stretched out his hands at lightning speed and hugged the saber. His strength seemed to have recovered at the moment of his death. This was the strength of a dying man's radiance. He had the ability to kill Emo Tianyun with his palm at this moment. After all, Emo Tianyun was not an emperor-level expert. He did not know the true terror of an emperor-level expert. However, Emo Wuxian did not attack. He only looked at Emo Tianyun with endless sorrow. Blood was constantly flowing out of the corners of his mouth. His hands were tightly hugging the saber. Blood was also oozing out of his hands. He said in a low and deep voice, Tianyun, you killed me, you know. I'm your grandfather. I'm your grandfather. You're my grandson. Emo Wuxian spoke in a low and deep voice. Tears kept rolling out of his old eyes. But he did not blink. What? Emo Tianyun took 2 steps back. Then he sat down on the ground. He kicked his legs as he stepped back. What did you say? I'm your grandfather. I'm your biological grandfather. Emo Wuxian strenuously spat out blood. He looked at Emo Tianyun with tearful eyes and said intermittently, That year it was me. As he spoke intermittently, a fact like a bolt from the blue appeared in front of Emo Tianyun's eyes. I am really your grandfather. I really am. Emo Wuxian painfully closed his eyes. You want this saber? You tell me. How can I not give it to you if you tell me? If it's related to your nature, you don't have to give up a saber? Your grandfather has done so much for you, a saber, what can it be? Mo Tianyun was dumbstruck. He had never dreamt that the person he had killed with his own hands would be his biological grandfather. He carefully thought about it and finally understood why Mo Wuxian had supported him since childhood. Why did he spare no effort to train him from the beginning? Mo Tianji was not inferior to him. Why did he support him to the position of the young clan lord despite the opposition of the entire clan when he did not understand anything? He had always been puzzled. He only thought that he was born with the aura of a leader. Now that he thought about it, everything was just a fart. What aura of a leader? What feeling of being an overlord? Everything was very simple. It was so simple that anyone could understand it. It was because he was his biological grandfather. Even if he did not live up to expectations, it would be strange if he did not help him. He saw Mo Wuxian violently gasping for breath in the pool of blood. He was speaking intermittently. He was struggling on the verge of death. Mo Tianyun suddenly felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. I wouldn't have killed you if I had known that you were my grandfather. I had always been worried that as long as I stole the saber, the final suspect would have been me. Chu Yang and the others would not have kept it a secret for me. I could only kill you and then create an illusion. Then I would put on an act. With your hatred, no one would suspect me even if rumors were to spread. Moreover, I could use your hatred to frame Mo Tianji. I could even return to the position of the young clan lord in one fell swoop. Because you had been so good to me, no one would suspect that I would kill you. I could cry. I could cry until I went into shock. I could cry until I fainted. I could cry until my eyes bled. I could cry until everyone sympathized with me. I would cry until I was truly crying. I would cry out of my true feelings. You would die. But you would create a lot of value for me. You would not only save my life but also my position. You would also bring me a lot of loyal subordinates. I had planned everything. How could I have imagined that things would turn out like this? You are my grandfather? You are my biological grandfather? How is this possible? Why didn't you say so earlier? Would I have leaked it if you had said so earlier? I am not stupid. No one could have imagined that things would turn out this way. Even Chu Yang, who forced Mo Tianyun, and Mo Tianji, who knew that Mo Tianyun would steal the saber, didn't expect this. Even Mo Tianji, with his wisdom, only thought that Mo Tianyun would think of a way to confuse Mo Wuxian and steal the saber. No one could have imagined that Mo Tianyun would be so vicious and merciless. He killed someone. He killed a person who was so indebted to him. He killed his biggest supporter, just for the sake of greater benefits. He is so deranged that it is beyond anyone's expectations. Mo Tianyun's entire body trembled. He suddenly pounced on Mo Wuxian like a madman, and forcefully grabbed Mo Wuxian's skinny shoulder. He gnashed his teeth in anger. You old bastard. Why didn't you say so earlier? You wouldn't be in such a troublesome situation if you had said so earlier. You old bastard, you motherfucker. Mo Wuxian's lifeless eyes looked at him. The expression in his eyes changed from hope to despair. He wanted to hear Mo Tianyun call him grandfather before he died. He didn't kill this little guy because he wanted to hear him. However, he didn't expect that this little guy would become even more vicious after he knew the truth. An old dog had turned into an old bastard. How could Mo Wuxian endure this? He had sacrificed his entire life. Mo Wuxian let out a hoarse laugh. His body suddenly erupted with a strong energy, and Mo Tianyun was sent flying. His skinny body straightened up and he stood up from his lying position. Dreaming of a gentle dance saber, was still stuck in his chest. I was wrong in the end. Mo Wuxian heaved a long sigh. He suddenly stretched out his hand and pulled out the saber from his chest. Blood was dripping down from the saber. He looked at Mo Tianyun with a firm gaze and said, "You want this saber? Come and take it." Mo Tianyun saw his terrifying appearance and couldn't help but take a step back. "Come and take it." Mo Wuxian sadly looked at his grandson. This grandson had just killed him. He hissed, "Come and take it." Mo Tianyun clenched his teeth and finally took a step forward. Mo Wuxian laughed and said, "Yes, this is my grandson. Take it. Do what you have to do." He threw the saber away and blood splashed out. Then his body swayed and he muttered, "Dying at the hands of my own grandson. Mo Wuxian, can be considered as the only one in all of history?" The light in his eyes suddenly disappeared, and he finally fell down with a plop. Mo Tianyun's entire body trembled as he held the saber. Suddenly, his voice trembled as he laughed. After a long time, he suddenly chopped the saber on Mo Wuxian's corpse. He wept tears of blood and cursed, "Old bastard! Old bastard! You made me commit such a big crime. You old bastard!" Two shadows were coldly looking at this place from a dark place not far away. They were so angry that their temples were throbbing. Chapter 475. What happened? He thought to himself. Mo Yang cried so fast? He went back and stole the saber? And Mo Tianji took advantage of this opportunity? Chu Yang couldn't have imagined that the Mo clan's matters would be so far out of his expectations. His original plan was to use this saber theft to provoke the conflict between Great Elder Mo Wuxian and Mo Tianyun. Then Mo Tianji would hit him while he was down. Especially now that Mo Tianyun had almost lost all of the Mo clan's assets, it would be a fatal blow. Of course, Ian wanted Mo Tianyun to deliver the dreaming of a gentle dance saber. It was Mo Qingwu's saber. When Mo Qingwu heard the words Mo clan, her delicate body trembled. Her eyes could not help but reveal a frightened look. Her petite body unconsciously leaned against Chu Yang. The Mo clan has changed. Mo Tianyun is dead. Mo Wuxian is dead. Mo Xingqian has abdicated. Mo Tianji is the 13th clan lord. Dun Duxing took a deep breath. He suppressed the shock in his heart and said the contents of the letter. When he first received the letter, he felt a chill down his spine. Even now he could still clearly feel it. Dun Duxing knew very well why the Mo clan had such a huge change. The culprit was sitting right in front of him. It was his own boss. The scene of Chu Yang's plan to force Mo Tianyun into a dead end was still vivid in his mind. First he took out 300 million to show a carefree attitude. Then he deliberately aroused the greed in Mo Tianyun's heart. Then he bravely revealed that he had a huge amount of money. He clearly knew that Mo Tianyun could not take out such a huge amount of money. Then he used words and benefits to tempt Mo Tianyun into mortgaging his clan's property and stepped into this irreversible tragedy. During the duel, he had even used some tricks to turn the tide of a losing battle around. After the gambling fight, he relentlessly attacked Mo Tianyun without mercy. He completely shattered Mo Tianyun's mentality and humiliated him. Then he used Dukyu to pressure Mo Tianyun into an absolute predicament. Finally, he left a glimmer of hope for the other party, dreaming of a gentle dance saber. But who would have thought that this last hope would be Mo Tianyun's true path to ruin? Even if the Mo clan were to punish him, the debt owed by the young clan lord would still have to be repaid if he had honestly paid off his gambling debts. Mo Tianyun's position as the young clan lord would be abolished even if the Mo clan went bankrupt. However, the Mo clan could only grit their teeth and accept this debt. However, Chu Yang was very clear about Mo Tianyun's character. A saber is enough to offset everything. Why would he want to make trouble for himself? Therefore, Mo Tianyun's tragedy was inevitable. Chu Yang had paved a wide road to hell for Mo Tianyun. And Mo Tianyun had no other choice. He could only walk forward. The only unexpected thing was that Mo Tianyun was walking a little too fast on this path. Chu Yang had only paved this part of the road to the Yellow Springs for him, but he had actually triumphantly charged through the Limbo Pepper. In the letter, Mo Tianji did not hide anything about what had happened in the Mo clan. Word by word he revealed the terrifying truth. Mo Qingwu's whole body was cold as she listened. She trembled as she burrowed into Chu Yang's arms. Who would have thought that the clan that she had grown up in was hiding such a tragedy? And she herself was one of the victims. If she had not been lucky enough to meet Chu Yang, then she would have been. Thinking of this, Mo Qingwu's face turned pale. Really? Chu Yang listened to the whole story and was silent for a long time. After a long time he finally said this sentence. He really did not think that Mo Tianyun would be so crazy. This Mo Wuxian is the main culprit. Chu Yang's fingers gently cracked as he said gloomily, "This old bastard, he caused so much harm to Qingwu. Dying like this is too easy for him. And Mo Tianyun, he died too easily." Easy? Ji Mashua, Du Xing and the other three had cold sweat seeping out of their backs. Luo Kadi smiled bitterly, "Old man, this is the cruelest way to die. Even if you personally cut him into pieces and put him to death by 1,000 cuts, it won't be as cruel as dying like this." Shua Du Xing felt the same way. A biological grandfather painstakingly arranged a generation and supported his grandson. He used all his effort and blood, but at the final moment when he was about to succeed, he was killed by his own grandson. A grandson without knowing killed his own grandfather, and this kind of tragedy is the worst. Mo Tianyun certainly deserved it, but if he knew after death, I'm afraid his soul would not be at peace. Dong Wuxiang thought for a while. Then he sighed deeply and said, it was indeed a sale. But Big Brother only wanted that saber at that time. He also wanted him to kill his own grandfather. That Mo Tianyun went crazy and did it spontaneously. This wasn't Big Brother's plan. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. Chu Yang said deeply, Mo Tianyun is not worthy of sympathy, and Mo Wu Xan is also not worthy of pity. But this matter has given us a reminder. You must remember, the four brothers listened carefully. No matter what kind of desperate situation you are in, you must not take any risks. You must think thrice before you act. In a desperate situation there must be a way out. This is the principle of heaven and earth. You must be careful because we are not only destroying ourselves. Chu Yang said seriously, we brothers are of one mind. Pull one hair and the whole body will be affected. He did not continue speaking. He only sighed softly. The flickering firelight illuminated the faces of the brothers. They were deep in thought and seemed to have understood something. Mo Qingwu's body was trembling in Chu Yang's arms. She had not yet recovered from the lingering fear of this matter. Chu Yang's arms tightened and hugged her tightly. He said softly, don't be afraid. It's all in the past. Mo Qingwu nodded gently and shrank in his arms. She felt Chu Yang's strong arms and gradually felt safe. Mo Qingwu actually felt very happy about what Mo Tianji had said in the letter that, dreaming of a gentle dance saber, would always be hers. It was true that she liked that saber very much. But she liked that saber because Brother Chu Yang liked it. Now Brother Chu Yang was by her side. Whether it was the saber or not was no longer important. Humph, Brother Chu Yang is much better looking than that saber. Big Brother, do you know that although you have only been here for 3 days, your strength has already exceeded that of an ordinary clan? Dun Duxing smiled and waved the letter in his hand. He said, Mo Tianji wrote this letter for me. But, in fact, it is for you to read. Mo Tianji's meaning is very clear. From now on he will form an iron alliance with you. So, he will cooperate with all the clans related to you. Even the Luo clan who has always been hostile to you will do the same. This is all for you, Big Brother. Dun Duxing laughed. In the past, Mo Tianji is in charge of the Mo clan. So, it is equivalent to standing on our side. The Dun clan has even said that the second son of the Dun clan is here. So, RG clan is also no problem. Second young Master Luo of the Luo clan is here. This bastard doesn't represent anything. But the Luo clan won't be our enemy at least. And the Dong clan is also the same. GMO excitedly said, Big Brother, it is equivalent to the 3 big clans. Chu Yang faintly smiled. He pondered and said, you forgot that there is also the Huyen clan. And Miss Alba isn't inferior to men. GMO's face turned red. He mischievously smiled. Then he said in an intoxicated manner, that's right. She will certainly listen to me. She is so gentle, virtuous, and gives me a sense of security. Everyone felt a chill. Then they laughed together. The next morning, everyone hadn't set out yet. But the young clan lord of the Xia clan, Xia Dan Qiong, rushed over to meet them. He had come to look for Chu Yang. Brother Chu, our Xia clan is in front of us. Chu Yang, you must stay for 2 days. Let this brother do the honors of a good host. Xia Dan Qiong's face was beaming with happiness. Everyone understood in their hearts that this wasn't the honor of a good host. It was clear that he wanted to pay off his debt quickly. After all, it was very uncomfortable for a proud and arrogant person like Xia Dan Qiong to always owe someone a debt. Xia Dan Qiong had come here to prove that the Xia clan had agreed to the deal that Chu Yang had proposed last time. Of course, I'll have to trouble Brother Xia. Chapter 476. Gu Duxing and the others ate and drank heartily in the hall. Xia clan's hospitality allowed the brothers to open their bellies. They drank big bowls of wine and ate big mouthfuls of meat. They weren't worried about Big Brother Chu who was following Xia Dan Qiong alone. Only Mo Qingwu couldn't eat. She ate a few mouthfuls, and raised her head to look in the direction of Chu Yang's departure. Isn't Big Brother Chu Yang hungry? A burst of hurried footsteps was heard. Then a red shadow came out in a hurry. She opened her mouth and shouted, Luo Kadi. Luo Kadi was startled. He had just scooped a spoonful of soup, but half of it spilled on his lapel. This is bad. This is bad. I forgot about this matter. I didn't even think of telling Big Brother about it. The person who came out was Xia Danfeng. She walked over quickly. She put one hand on her waist and asked, "Where's that ugly bastard?" Luo Kudi was tongue-tied. Didn't you say that you were brothers with him?" Xia Danfeng looked very anxious. "How come I haven't seen that bastard's shadow for such a long time?" Luo Kudi stammered, I don't know." His brothers were looking at him curiously. So Luo Kudi had no choice but to tell them the situation of that day. As expected, the brothers suddenly exposed a look of great interest as soon as they heard the words Chu Yang's junior martial brother Tan Tan. Then they started to ask questions at once. "Really? He's really? I heard that he's super narcissistic? How awesome is he?" Luo Kudi exposed an "I can't bear to look back" expression. He weakly said, "You'll understand when you see him. Spare me. I don't feel hungry anymore when I think of him." Xia Danqiong laughed out loud. He didn't avoid the topic. He sat down and drank big mouthfuls of wine and ate meat. He chatted and laughed with everyone on the side. Soon he got along well with them. GMO thought to himself, "This girl's character is similar to Lei Feng's. It seems that Tan Tan and I are kindred spirits." So, he was in a good mood and drank 3 cups of wine. The guests of the Xia clan looked at each other in dismay. These brothers are very careless. Their big brother went to discuss business with our young master. But they aren't worried. Don't they know that big young master Xia Danqiong is famous? Little did they know that Gu Duxing and the others were not worried at all. Xia Danqiong was admittedly a golden abacus. But compared to Chu Yang, this golden abacus wasn't necessarily any better. "Brother Chu, look over here. This is the compensation that the clan has prepared for this bet." Xia Danqiong pointed at some strange metals that had been piled up there. Behind him were his third uncle, Xia Qingma, and fourth uncle, Xia Qingyan. Both of them were experienced traders who had presided over many auctions of such rare items. They were very clear about the prices. Chu Yang looked at them one by one. Meteorites from outer space, cold iron from underground, star iron, cold gold. In total, there were 25 pieces in total. Its estimated value was definitely above 500 million. It seems that the Xia clan has done a very good job. They won't let Chu Yang suffer any losses. That's right, the Xia clan is indeed a big clan. I'll take them all. Chu Yang pondered for a moment and said, "The total value of these things should be around 550 million taels. This is the market price." Xia Qingma and Xia Qingyan looked at each other as soon as this figure came out. They both saw the affirmation in each other's eyes. Yes, the market value of these things should be this much. There shouldn't be a difference of 10 million taels. This king of Hell Chu's vision is very sharp. Chu Yang pondered for a moment and said, "My promise is 20% higher than the market price. So, I'll give you 100 million taels." He took out 100 million taels of gold notes, and handed them over to Xia Danqiong on the spot. Xia Danqiong repeatedly shook his hands. "Brother Chu, this isn't very generous of you. It's rare for you to extend the deadline to this point. Moreover, my Xia clan would lose face if we were to ask for this 20%. Please accept it, Brother Chu." Chu Yang smiled and said, "Brother Xia, you also know that a man's words are hard to take back. Brother Xia won't make me a villain who doesn't keep his word, right?" Xia Danqiong looked at his third uncle with a helpless expression on his face. Xia Qingma nodded slightly and said, "Young clan lord, you shouldn't decline since Minister Chu has such a broad mind. There will be plenty of time in the future." Xia Danqiong forced a smile and said, "It would be impolite for me to refuse." Chu Yang laughed out loud and patted his shoulder. He thought, "How can you obediently take out good things if I don't let you taste the sweetness?" He said, "Brother Xia, you don't have to be so polite. Gold and silver are just a pile of numbers for me. It's nothing." Xia Qingma and Xia Qingyan's eyes lit up when they heard these words. Xia Danqiong issued an order and called in a few people. He ordered them to pack the things that Chu Yang wanted, and deliver them to the Gu clan's camp. "This place is quite big." Chu Yang looked at the warehouse where the strange metals were stored and casually said, "That's natural." Xia Qingma's expression became somewhat affectionate as he said, "Minister Chu, our Xia clan has a lot of precious things over the years. We can cooperate further if Minister Chu is interested." Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He said in high spirits, "Is that so? Then I'll plunder a lot today." "Aha." Xia Danqiong and his 2 nephews laughed happily at the same time, and said, "As long as Minister Chu wants something, feel free to plunder it." The 4 of them laughed heartily. They were extremely happy. Chu Yang thought, I've been waiting for you to say these words. It seems that I'll return with a full load this time. The plunder, I said. Is it that simple? Xie Qingma thought, I've been waiting for you to say these words. You still want to plunder us? We're also going to plunder your pockets. Minister Chu, this way please. This way please. Xie Qingma politely pulled Chu Yang to a thick shelf and said, Minister Chu, what do you think of this thing? Good stuff. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. There was a strange object in front of him. Its surface was pitted, and it flickered with a faint cold light. It was neither gold nor stone. It was only the size of a human head, but it was unusually heavy. The solid iron shelf was slightly bent because of the weight. Inside his dantian, Tribulation Sword cheered, and somersaulted in his dantian. This increased Chu Yang's determination to obtain it. This thing is a piece of meteoric iron from outer space. It has another name, 30,000 creatures. Xie Qingma explained with a smile, just 300 years ago this thing flew from the sky and landed on the ground. The impact of the impact turned the entire mountain range upside down. Within a radius of 500 miles, more than 30,000 people lost their lives because of the impact. Xie Qingyan continued, at that time this thing was as big as a room. It was like a sun burning fiercely. Later we sent people to wait for it to cool down. Then they used a sledgehammer to smash open the burning thing on the outside bit by bit, revealing the inside. But it was only this big. Look, the pits on it are the traces of the original burning. That's right. Chu Yang touched it with his hand. Then, he exerted force on his wrist and held this 30,000 creatures in his hand. He felt his wrist suddenly drop down. Only after exerting a bit more force did he hold it up. We don't know what this is, but it's extremely heavy. It's only the size of a human head, but the total weight is more than 5,000 pounds. Xie Danxiong looked at this strange thing. Although this thing's name sounded intimidating, it was extremely hard. It couldn't be damaged at all. The Xie clan couldn't do anything about it. They didn't know what it was used for. Now that Chu Yang came, the first thing he wanted to do was to sell this trash. Good stuff. I want it. Chu Yang nodded with satisfaction. Brother Xie, please name your price. Chu Yang didn't know what this thing was, but he knew one thing. Something that could make the Calamity Sword react was definitely good stuff. It should be known that the Calamity Sword only lazily moved things like star iron and nightmare steel. But it actually flipped over because of this piece of outer space cloud iron. One could imagine how precious this thing was. Xie Danxiong looked at this thing and discussed with his two uncles. Brother Chu, we don't know what this thing is used for and we don't know its price. And it has never appeared in the market before, so we don't have a market price to refer to. How about 10 million taels? This was the price that the three of them had discussed. 10 million taels wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. It showed the Xie clan's sincerity and it wouldn't be a loss. It should be known that the Xie clan had mobilized manpower and material resources to get this outer space cloud iron. It was as high as 1 million taels of silver. And that was 300 years ago. Very good. Deal. Chu Yang said straightforwardly, it's 20% higher than the market price. I'll add another 2 million taels. He neatly took out some gold notes to settle the bill. King of Hell Chu's wealth at this moment was a perfect illustration of this. This thing, not to mention 10 million taels, Chu Yang would buy it for 120 million taels just for the Calamity Sword. As long as he could afford it, Chu Yang would buy it even if he had to spend all his money. Xie Danxiong and the other two sighed in relief and smiled. Brother Chu is really straightforward. This guy is really rich. He doesn't know what this thing is, but he can throw out 12 million taels of silver without batting an eyelid. While talking, Xie Danxiong took the notes and asked people to come in and carry this thing out. I don't need to introduce what this is. Xie Danxiong smiled and pointed at a strange light red object. Red cloud steel. It's really a good thing. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. This piece was about the same size as the big piece in the Iron Cloud Imperial Palace. It was a real treasure. 100 million taels of silver for this one. How about it? Xie Danxiong asked. Good. 100 million taels of silver, plus 20 million taels. Chu Yang agreed. This is a piece of nightmare steel. Deal. This is a piece of ghost steel. Deal. This is a piece of deal. This is deal. This is deal. He looked at 13 or 14 shells along the way. But the shells he had looked at were already empty. So Minister Chu had bought all of them in a very straightforward manner. He was like a junk collector. As long as it was something, he would buy it. Since the Xie clan had put it here, how could they have ordinary goods? First update. Requesting monthly votes. The monthly vote situation is in jeopardy. Brothers and sisters, I already have 150 votes today. If I can reach 300 votes before midnight, I will add another 150 votes. I will vomit blood and add one more update on top of the 4 updates. This is the best I can do. I really can't do anything more than that. Chapter 477. By rough estimation, Chu Yang had already thrown out 800 million yuan in this short period of 1 hour. The golden notes in Xie Danxiong's bosom were constantly increasing and thickening. Xie Danxiong, Xie Qingyamo, and Xie Qingyan were also getting more and more excited. He is really rich. He doesn't refuse anyone. The 3 of them weren't worried about what Chu Yang was going to do with these things. These things can only be used to forge weapons. But none of these things are easy to forge. Some of them won't change even if they are thrown into the crater of a volcano. King of Hell Chu will only be able to increase his collection if he buys them. Only those old monsters of monarch level or above in the upper 3 heavens who know how to forge weapons can possibly forge half of them. But such people are very old. So who would do such a thing? Moreover, can you find those people, Chu Yang? He continued to lead Chu Yang forward in high spirits. They hadn't even gone through half of the Xie clan's treasure house yet. There were still at least 100 of them waiting to be seen. Chu Yang kept throwing golden notes as he walked. Then, the people of the Xie clan would come in and carry them out. Gu Duxing would arrange for the people of the Gu clan to receive them. So they would throw everything into Chu Yang's tent. The people of the Xie clan who were transporting things had changed from servants to 8 revered martial artists. After all, some things couldn't be moved by ordinary people. Chu Yang had gone through half of the treasure house. But he didn't have any money. A total of 5 billion had been thrown into the treasury. After all, the Xie clan had dominated the upper 3 heavens for thousands of years. How strong was its heritage? It was simply unrealistic for Chu Yang to want to empty out everything in one go. It didn't matter if he had no money. After all, Chu Yang had other means. Young Master Xie. Chu Yang suddenly stopped and looked at Xie Danxiong. Xie Danxiong was holding the golden notes in his bosom. Brother Chu, are you short of money? Xie Danxiong smiled. He had obviously sensed Chu Yang's difficulties. That's right. So, I want to ask if the Xie clan would be interested in something I have. Chu Yang smiled meaningfully. I don't know what treasure Brother Chu has? Xie Danxiong chuckled and said, Brother Chu, you don't have to be like this. Just tell me what you like. You can pay me later. I believe in Brother Chu's credibility. What credibility do I have? Chu Yang thought to himself, I've only been here for 3 days to 1 month, and I already have credibility? Why didn't I know about it? I have a piece of mysterious jade ice crystal. Chu Yang looked at the 3 of them meaningfully. I want to exchange it for some silver. Mysterious jade ice crystal? Xie Danxiong was dumbfounded. The golden notes in his bosom fell to the ground with a shwa-shwa sound. Xie Qingma and Xie Qingyan's eyes also bulged out of their sockets. The Xie family's martial arts took the soft and gentle path. The mysterious jade ice crystal was a supreme treasure that could greatly enhance one's martial arts. Furthermore, if he wore the mysterious jade ice crystal while cultivating, there was no possibility of him going berserk. This was something that the Xie family hadn't been able to find for over 1,000 years, something that they had been longing for over 1,000 years. It's the crystal core. Chu Yang smiled and added 3 more words. Mysterious jade ice crystal core? Do you really have one? Let me have a look. However, it wasn't one of Xie Danxiong and his 2 nephews who had spoken these words. Instead, it was an old man who had suddenly appeared. His beard and beard were all white. He was thin and withered. His entire body couldn't be cut into pieces. This old man suddenly appeared in front of Chu Yang. His eyes were emitting a divine light of desire. Ancestor. Xie Danxiong was startled. The old man who had arrived was the ancestor of the Xie family. He was Xie Zhiqiu, who had lived for 400 to 500 years. In fact, even Xie Danxiong didn't know how profound his cultivation was. This is a martial emperor. He's also the one who has been using his divine sense to lock onto you. Moreover, it seems that he has been stuck in this bottleneck for more than 100 years. I'm afraid he'll reach his limit if he can't break through to the monarch level in a few decades. Sword Spirit softly said in Chu Yang's mind, the mysterious jade ice crystal is a treasure that he can use to break through the bottleneck. No wonder you were willing to take out the mysterious jade ice crystal. So, you were targeting this old man? Chu Yang said in his heart. He finally understood why Sword Spirit had calmly reminded him not to be anxious. So, I was fishing for this big fish, of course? Sword Spirit mischievously smiled. Xie Zhiqiu ignored Xie Danqiong and the other two people. His eyes were firmly fixed on Chu Yang. This movement immediately attracted the attention of the higher-ups of the Xie clan. The higher-ups who had been paying attention to this place appeared one after another in an instant. I naturally have the core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. However, I naturally want a suitable price for it. Chu Yang faintly smiled and said, otherwise, young clan Lord O Du Xiao had invited me to take a look at his clan's treasure house. You take it out first. This old man can assure you that I can give you a price beyond your expectations as long as you have it. Xie Zhiqiu ignored the salutes of the Xie clan's people. He only stared at Chu Yang and said, all right. Chu Yang knew that it would be counterproductive to keep such people in suspense for a long time. He flipped his palm, and a fist-sized core of the mysterious jade ice crystal appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a cool and refreshing feeling appeared in the treasure house. It was a kind of cool and refreshing feeling that could calm one's soul. It seemed that no matter how agitated one's mood was, it would restore absolute tranquility under this cool and refreshing feeling. Dozens of gazes were fixed on Chu Yang's hand at the same time. It was a piece of jade that was as clear as water. It was exuding a gentle radiance. Xie Zhiqiu's eyes were fixed on it. His entire body was somewhat trembling. This is it. This is it. I can't be wrong. This is it. I can break through to the monarch level as long as I have this. Moreover, the entire Xie clan's martial arts will take a big step forward because of this. This, can I take a look at it? Xie Zhiqiu rubbed his hands. Chu Yang faintly smiled, and handed over the core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. He sighed with emotion in his heart. The Xie clan was a famous clan in the Three Heavens. It could be considered a super clan in the Three Heavens whether it was in terms of financial resources or military strength. However, there was one thing that was worthy of praise, the upbringing of the Xie clan. The upbringing of the Xie clan was the strictest in the Three Heavens. The reaction of the Xie clan's people was beyond Chu Yang's expectations when they saw this peerless treasure that could directly affect the life and death of the entire Xie clan. Chu Yang had already made a plan. In fact, he had even compressed his consciousness. His divine sense was also ready to move into the tribulation space at any time. So, the sword spirit would immediately take over Chu Yang's body as long as there was any abnormal movement. Then, the sword spirit would unleash the full power of the tribulation sword, and annihilate the Xie clan. Chu Yang wasn't a kind person. He wasn't stupid either. How could he take out such a precious treasure without any precautions? However, 17 people of the Xie clan had come in. Their eyes were flickering with greed and possessiveness. Moreover, only 5 of them had a murderous intention in their eyes. Most of them were shocked and pleasantly surprised. They were obviously greedy, but they weren't disgusted. It would have been abnormal if they hadn't been greedy after seeing such a precious treasure. This made Chu Yang praise them in his heart. The sword spirit had clearly seen the reactions of the Xie clan's people. He had analyzed them thoroughly. Xie Zhiqiu held the core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. He felt that his somewhat withered meridians had regained their vitality. He took a deep breath and regained his composure. Little brother, you hastily took out such a precious treasure. Aren't you afraid that this old man will take it for himself, or kill you for money? There are always risks in life, Chu Yang smiled warmly. You must pay your sincere heart if you want to make friends. It can only be said that you took a gamble and lost if you get injured because of it. But you'll have a lifetime of trust and reliability if you don't get injured. Gain and loss are equal in fact. I'm afraid. But I can't not gamble. Good. Xie Zhiqiu looked at him with rapt attention for a long while. Then he suddenly burst into laughter. He turned his head and said, you should know the importance of this thing to our Xie clan. The other people of the Xie clan repeatedly nodded as they listened to their old ancestors' lecture. Little brother, our Xie clan can't disappoint you since you've taken it out. Xie Zhiqiu said, this old man might as well tell you that this thing is a precious treasure in your hands. But it's an opportunity for a meteoric rise in our Xie clan. He looked at the hidden treasure house and said, this hidden treasure house is yours. Everything inside will be used to exchange for your core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. Everything will be used to exchange for your sincerity. You can take whatever you want from my Xie clan in the future. There's no harm in taking it. We won't charge you even the slightest bit of reward. He turned around in a dignified manner and said, Dan Qiong, did you hear that? Yes, old ancestor. Xie Dan Qiong respectfully nodded. This is too hasty, right? Senior, you might as well consider it carefully. Chu Yang was startled. He hadn't expected that he would receive such an important promise in exchange. This promise and this exchange had made Chu Yang feel restless in his heart. You may not know what you've taken out, but this old man can tell you that you've taken out the future of our Xie clan. Xie Zhiqiu solemnly said, our Xie clan has always respected people 10 times as much as they respect us. If someone cripples us with a finger, we take their life. We clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. Moreover, you've taken out such a precious thing. We can't repay you. Xie Zhiqiu solemnly said, to be honest, this old man still feels that it's not worthy of the value of this core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. It's priceless. So that's how it is, Chu Yang solemnly said. This junior needs these things since Elder Xie has said so. It would be impolite to refuse. But I'll certainly repay you generously in the future. This was the first time that Chu Yang had said the words I'll certainly repay you generously in the future. Perhaps, it would have been nothing more than empty words if someone else had said it. However, Chu Yang's words were tantamount to making a promise. Moreover, the value of this promise was something that the current Xie clan couldn't even dream of. Perhaps the Xie clan felt that they had gained a big advantage. However, Chu Yang knew that he was the one who had gained a big advantage. He wouldn't have been touched if the Xie clan had schemed against him. In fact, he wouldn't have felt the slightest bit of psychological pressure. However, the opposite party's Jun Zhifeng had touched Chu Yang's heart. And he obviously hadn't made such a promise out of hot-headedness. Chapter 478. Both sides felt cordial since they had spoken to this point. The Xie clan's people became enthusiastic, and helped Chu Yang to move the things out of the tent one by one. Gu Duxing's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Crap. Did Big Brother move the entire Xie clan? He saw that Chu Yang's tent had been piled up like a mountain. So he had no choice but to tidy up the other 2 tents as well. Brother Chu, how are you going to move so many things? Xie Danxiong accompanied Chu Yang out and said, I will prepare a few carriages for you. No need. I have my own way, Chu Yang smiled and replied. Xie Danxiong handed over a thick stack of gold notes while speaking. Brother Chu, take this and use it. What are you doing? Chu Yang asked in astonishment. Brother Chu has given our Xie clan a great fortune. The old ancestor has said that he will use the entire treasury in exchange for your mysterious jade ice crystal core. So, this money is naturally yours. We can't take it. Xie Danxiong was very firm. Chu Yang was really helpless this time. I can take advantage of others, but I can't take advantage of others like this, right? Xie Danxiong couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Chu Yang was in a difficult position. He said, Brother Chu, I know that you feel somewhat apologetic in your heart. But, you want these things to forge weapons. Haha, to be honest, I'm very curious whether you can forge them or not. Wouldn't it be better if you give me one if you can forge them? He patted Chu Yang's shoulder and said, besides, we still have a long way to go in the future. You want to go to the O clan. The O clan's treasury isn't any worse than ours. So, you will need to bring the banknotes with you. Chu Yang's mind turned at lightning speed. He took the banknotes and said in a free and easy manner, I won't be polite since Brother Xie has said so. However, he had made up his mind. I won't let the Xie clan pay this money in vain. Brother Xie, can I take a look at your famous concealed weapon, the viburnum flower? Chu Yang asked with interest. Xie Danxiong was startled. He smiled and said, why not? He took out his weapon as he spoke. He sighed and said, unfortunately, my viburnum flower hasn't reached the great level yet. Oh? Chu Yang looked at these 2 petal-like things and pondered with rapt attention. There was a mechanism on the petals that seemed to cause the sharp petals to spin rapidly, forming an indestructible storm that would destroy all enemies in front of it. Xie Danxiong demonstrated for a while and said, that's it. But, the secret book I've obtained is somewhat incomplete. Its might isn't small at present. But I still feel that my strength isn't sufficient. So, I can't display its full potential. What viburnum flower? It turns out to be the soul-seizing flower blade. The sword spirit said disdainfully. You know about this thing? Chu Yang asked in surprise. This is the famous weapon of the soul-seizing flower fairy 20,000 years ago. Once the soul-seizing blade is used, all the flowers in the world will lose their color. In a field of colorful rain of flowers, the enemy will be beheaded. It was the #1 hidden weapon at that time. But this Xie guy's training is completely wrong. The sword spirit snorted, why would I know? I personally developed this thing when I was following the 7th master of Calamity Sword. And I gave it to that guy as a gift to please his concubine? That soul-seizing flower fairy was that guy's concubine? So, do you think I don't know about it? Chuyang was shocked. Ah. So, do you still have this thing? The sword spirit rolled his eyes. Do you want it? Nonsense. I can make it in a moment. But, this soul-seizing flower blade is a woman's weapon. But this little guy is clearly a man's weapon. I'm afraid it won't be easy to master it. The sword spirit looked at Xie Danqiong and said. That's his business, Chuyang said slowly. As long as he has the heart, the feminine can also transform into the masculine. The sword spirit's eyes lit up and he said, the feminine can also transform into the masculine. So you and I will help him. Whether he succeeds or not depends on his good fortune. Xie Danqiong saw that Chuyang was holding his viburnum flower and pondering. So he couldn't help but feel strange. He asked, Brother Chu, is there something wrong? Chuyang woke up from his contemplation and said, it's not wrong. But when I saw Brother Xie's viburnum flower, I suddenly found it somewhat familiar. I had obtained these two things some time ago. And they were somewhat similar to Brother Xie's viburnum flower. But they weren't exactly the same. Really? Xie Danqiong's eyes lit up. Brother Xie, please wait for a moment. I will go in and take them out, Chuyang said apologetically. Then he slipped out of the room and went into his tent. He wasn't going to take them out. Instead, he was going to use some time to let the sword spirit make them. Chuyang returned after a short while. Xie Danqiong looked at him in astonishment. Chuyang took out two bud-like things from his bosom and said, Brother Xie, please take a look. These are the things? Xie Danqiong couldn't wait to take them. He turned them over and looked at them. Then he pressed the mechanism below with his hand. The petals suddenly scattered. They looked dreamy and illusory. However, the edges of each petal was shining with a sharp edge. It seemed as if a demon from hell had suddenly drilled out, and was blinking its eyes. Xie Danqiong's expression became more and more excited as he looked at them. In the end, his hands started to tremble. Viburnum flower. This is the real viburnum flower. Xie Danqiong grabbed Chuyang's hand and said, Brother Chu, where did you get this thing? This? I got it from an ancient tomb. Chuyang said with difficulty. I remember that there was also a piece of gold leaf with the cultivation method engraved on it. But I thought that this thing was too feminine. So I didn't practice it. Gold leaf? Cultivation method engraved on it? Xie Danqiong almost fainted. This shocking news had made him so excited that he had forgotten how to make an excited expression. Brother Xie, do you like it? Chuyang pretended to be pretentious. He had made up his mind to give it to Xie Danqiong. However, he still needed to go through the process. After all, he still needed to justify himself. This was a lie. Like it? I like it very much. Xie Danqiong's eyes contained a pleading look. Brother Chu, this may be the biggest opportunity in my life. Yes, this is it. The sword spirit had finished engraving the gold leaf at this time. This urgent work was indeed very tiring. Then, the sword spirit passed the message in his mind. I can only give him the first part of the cultivation method. His current cultivation is not enough. If he practices the second and third parts, I'm afraid that he will die under this soul-seizing flower blade in a few days. Chuyang nodded silently. He took out the gold leaf and said, Brother Xie, take a look and see if this is useful. He hadn't finished speaking when Xie Danqiong had already snatched it away. He looked at it eagerly. After a long time, he suddenly raised his head and looked at Chuyang with a look that made Chuyang's hair stand on end. Then he suddenly shouted and rushed forward to hug Chuyang tightly. He used so much strength that even Chuyang felt suffocated. Brother Chu, you are my biggest benefactor. Xie Danqiong's eyes were brimming with tears. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. This is the most complete viburnum flower and the most complete cultivation method of viburnum flower. Chuyang struggled. It's good that it's complete. Let me go first. I won't let you go. Xie Danqiong was almost jumping with joy as he hugged Chuyang. He held King of Hell Chu so tightly that his eyes rolled back. He suddenly realized that this was inconsistent with his usual elegant image. He embarrassedly released Chuyang and turned his head to look around. He saw that everyone in the Xie clan was looking at him as if they were looking at a monster. Xie Danqiong scratched his head. He was somewhat embarrassed. His handsome face turned red. Brother Chu? I'm sorry. I was too excited. I couldn't control myself. It's okay. I understand. Chuyang smiled and nodded. He secretly rubbed his shoulder with his right hand. He thought in his heart, you are too excited. But you are always hugging me. My shoulder is almost dislocated. Brother Chu, this is mine? Xie Danxiong tightly grasped the viburnum flower and the gold leaf. He looked at Chu Yang cautiously and somewhat apprehensively. Yes. Chu Yang nodded. Xie Danxiong almost cheered. He wanted to rush forward and hug Chu Yang again. However, he tried hard to control himself. He didn't lose his self-control. But his handsome face had already turned red. Chu Yang took 2 steps back. He looked at Xie Danxiong vigilantly. Don't hug me. I won't be able to bear it if you hug me again. Xie Danxiong danced with joy as he went home. He repeatedly said, I won't go home until I'm drunk tonight. I must be drunk. He also said, Brother Chu, I didn't treat you well if you don't get drunk. I won't treat you well. But getting you drunk is my greatest sincerity? Is this guy crazy? GMO looked at Xie Danxiong's appearance. He was confused. Could it be that Big Brother Chu emptied his house? And that's why he went crazy? I think so too. Luo Kudi's complexion was profound. His eyes were deep. There are some signs of that. I remember that there is a kind of disease called epilepsy. Xie Danxiong may be this kind of patient. He's so pitiful. GMO nodded. I also think so. Luo Kudi nodded. He's like second brother Gu. He's a little dumb. I feel the same. GMO felt that Luo Kudi had spoken his mind. Both of you get lost. Gu Duxing flew into a rage. With a kick, both of them flew into the air. The Xie clan held a big banquet that evening. All the high-level members of the Xie clan attended. Even Xie Zhiqiu, who had been living in seclusion for more than 100 years, attended this event for the first time. Xie Zhiqiu announced the alliance between the Xie clan and Minister Chu before the banquet began. He clearly stated that Chu Yang would be an irreplaceable ally of the Xie clan from now on. The Xie clan didn't need to care about any theory or right or wrong as long as it was related to Chu Yang. They would clearly stand on Chu Yang's side. This decision was obviously somewhat crazy. However, Xie Zhiqiu knew that Chu Yang was worth it after he saw the viburnum flower and the mysterious jade ice crystal core. This friendship was worth it. It was worth the Xie clan's effort. Gu Duxing and the others knew that the Xie clan of the Three Heavens would advance and retreat with them from now on. This was tantamount to saying that Chu Yang's goal had taken a big step forward. They didn't know how Chu Yang had done it. But they felt that their future was getting brighter and brighter. Chapter 479. It was a night of revelry. Xie Danxiong had almost gone crazy on this night. He had pulled Chu Yang to a drinking contest. 1 cup after another and 1 jar after another. Xie Danxiong's goal was very obvious, to get Chu Yang drunk. Only by getting Chu Yang drunk could he show his sincerity, his gratitude, and his sincerity. God knows how this thought came to be. Chu Yang had just dealt with a round of people urging him to drink when he saw Xie Danxiong walking drunkenly. Xie Danxiong's eyes were slanted as he staggered over. His handsome face was full of drunkenness that could make a girl jealous. Come, Brother Chu, let's drink. He was burping non-stop. But his heroic spirit hadn't diminished. It won't do if you don't drink. Xie Danxiong was somewhat tongue-tied. This is my secret wine. It's mixed with immortal intoxication. You can't force it out with spiritual power. Come, drink this cup, drink this bowl, drink this jar, drink this jar. I didn't treat you well if you don't get drunk. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. Is there such a thing? You didn't treat me well if I don't get drunk? Well, who's afraid of you if you want to drink? Chu Yang was full of heroic spirit. He suddenly stood up and shouted, Good. Let's drink. Let's see how much I can drink today. I'm going to single-handedly challenge the Xie clan. I didn't drink if you don't get drunk. These words had thoroughly ignited the conflict. Everyone from the Xie clan was stunned. Then they flew into a rage. What did I just hear? This fellow actually wants to compete with our entire family in drinking? Drink him to death. Kill him. Drink him to death. Everyone, let's go together. Line up. The banquet will be over when we get him drunk. Let's go. Gu Duxing, Dong Wushang, GMO, and Luo Kudi had also suffered since Chu Yang had said these words. A few old emperor-level experts had drunk faces as they caught these youngsters. Drink. You don't want to drink? Why don't you try? It didn't take long. GMO's head heavily fell on the table with a bang sound. Then he slid down the table like mud. His entire body slid down the table like a snake, and lay on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. After a while, Luo Kudi had foolishly started to hum. Then he shouted 3 times in a row, Oh whoa! Whoa. Wow. He fell to the ground with a thud, unconscious. After a while, Dong Wuxiang laughed heartily. He downed 3 jars in a row and collapsed on his back. At the same time, Gu Duxing snuck under the table without a word and started snoring. Mo Qingwu's little lowly jumped left and right, exclaiming, "Wow! Brother GMO has fallen. Wow! Brother Little Wolf is also down. Wow! Brother Wuxiang is drunk. Wow! Brother Du Xing is snoring. Wow! Brother Chu Yang is still drinking." The spirit of the Xie clan's people was roused when they saw that Chu Yang was the only one left. Although the Mo clan had sacrificed many experts of the Wine Kingdom in order to indoctrinate Gu Duxing and a few others, they still had the advantage in numbers. However, there was one thing that everyone couldn't understand. This king of Hell Chu is like an extra-large wine vat. No matter how much he drank, he wouldn't get drunk. King of Hell Chu started to get drunk not long after the banquet had started. His eyes were slanted, and he was on the verge of collapsing. But he was still on the verge of collapsing. Even after drinking for so long, he was still on the verge of collapsing. How much did he drink? "Bring more wine." Minister Chu shouted. "Bring more wine." Minister Chu shouted again. "He's the watermark of setting sail. Damn it. Bring all the wine." The Xie clan's people shouted in unison. "One at a time, don't mess around." Minister Chu maintained order. Come, Xie Dan Xiong. I will start with you. I will drink you down one by one. Come, everyone who is drunk, move them over there and lie down in an orderly manner." Xie Dan Xiong's nose and mouth were full of wine. He murmured, "I will drink you to death." Then he fell down with a thud. Then another person came up. Chu Yang downed 3 jars in a row with a bang 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 sound. Then people came up one after another. Minister Chu didn't refuse anyone. He drank all the wine. Everyone in the Xie clan felt a chill in their hearts. Drinking like this, is he still a human? Crap, he drank 30 or 40 pounds. Minister Chu's alcohol tolerance wasn't good. This wasn't a secret in Butian Pavilion of Iron Cloud. He would get angry if he drank a little more than 2 or 3 pounds. But the problem was, the sword spirit had made a big wine jar in the tribulation space. He was helplessly looking at the cups and jars of wine. It was like the Milky Way. It was unceasingly pouring into the big wine jar. It was almost full. Therefore he made an extra large one. The sword spirit forced a smile. How can he get drunk like this? He can't get drunk even if he drinks all the wine in the world. This is bullying. However, the people of the Xie clan were drinking the wine one after another. Midnight. Minister Chu roared, "Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else?" All around them there was a mess of bodies. The only one who wasn't drunk was the ancestor of the Xie clan, Xie Zhiqiu. Xie Zhiqiu forced a smile and slipped away on tiptoe. "I'm so old. I won't go crazy with this bunch of youngsters. Look at this. I'll be in vain if I go up against them." The servants of the Xie clan kept quiet out of fear. They looked at King of Hell Chu as if they were looking at an immortal. Crap. There's no justice in this world. Dozens of people were at the level of a wine immortal. But they were all knocked out by him. And they were still clamoring. I've never heard of such a pervert since ancient times. This isn't ordinary wine. It's mixed with immortal intoxication. It's a wine that can intoxicate a soul. They looked at Chu Yang. This guy can't be judged by common sense. Chu Yang shouted a few times. Then he finally swayed twice and fell down with a bang sound. He then whispered, "Bring the wine." The minister was drunk. In fact, he was drunk after drinking 5 liters of wine. He was just trying his best not to fall down. Now that his mind was relaxed, the effect of the immortal intoxication took effect. And he couldn't stand. The sword spirit looked at the 4 jars full of wine in the tribulation space. He couldn't help but force a smile. Each jar has 50 liters of wine, right? This guy drank so much but his belly didn't bulge. How could the Xie clan's people not see it? It was a mess at that time. Who had the time to look at Chu Yang's belly? They just drank. The sword spirit sighed and made a cup. Then he drank a cup out of curiosity. He suddenly felt dizzy. He swayed twice and cursed, "Fuck. The soul is intoxicated." His grandmother? The sword spirit also fell down. The immortal intoxication targeted the soul. The sword spirit was a wisp of a remnant soul. So he bore the brunt of it. Therefore the sword spirit gloriously fell down, with 1 cup. He started to snore. The next day, Chu Yang sleepily opened his eyes. He shook his head twice and felt a little dizzy. Why is it so fragrant? A small head came over from the side. Brother Chuyang, you're awake? It was Mo Qingwu. She was wearing thin pajamas. She popped her head out of the quilt like a kitten, and looked at him with concern. Qingwu, why are you here? Chuyang shook his head. He was still confused. Why are you in my quilt? You're drunk. I was afraid that you would feel uncomfortable last night, so I slept with you. The little girl actually knew how to be shy. Brother Chuyang, you're so bad. You've scratched my butt until it's swollen. And this is my quilt, not yours? Ah? Chuyang was shocked. He suddenly sat up and saw that his upper body was naked. He couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly turned to ask Mo Qingwu, I didn't do anything, right? He kept praying in his heart. Please don't do anything outrageous. Qingwu is still so young. Do what? Mo Qingwu opened her eyes and looked at him in confusion. Do what? Chuyang blinked and black lines appeared on his forehead. How to explain? You didn't do anything? Mo Qingwu curiously blinked her big eyes. I didn't drink too much. Chuyang opened his eyes awkwardly. Then he suddenly had an idea and said, I'm so thirsty. You didn't drink too much? You stunk all night. Mo Qingwu wrinkled her little nose. Wait, I'll get you some water. She walked barefooted and nimbly ran to get the water bag. Chuyang looked and let out a sigh of relief. Looks like I didn't do anything last night. I'm finally relieved. After gulping down a few mouthfuls of water, Chuyang was about to get up and put on his clothes. Little Wu, you go out first. Big brother Chuyang needs to put on his clothes. Go ahead. Little Luo rested her chin on her hands. You're here. It's inconvenient. Chuyang was speechless. What's inconvenient about it? Mo Qingwu was very disdainful. She wrinkled her little nose. Just wear yours. Chuyang was helpless. Suddenly, he thought of a very important question. Last night, who took off my clothes for me? Of course it was me. Little Luo felt a sense of accomplishment, and with pride she said, Other than me, who else could it be? Minister Chu's face instantly turned red. Looks like I'm naked. And no clothes? There's even a pair of shorts. Mo Qingwu looked at Chuyang and suddenly giggled. Big brother Chuyang, are you shy? Looking at Mo Qingwu's pure eyes, Chuyang suddenly felt ashamed. Yes, this little girl doesn't know anything. She's serving me sincerely. What's there to be shy about? I'm still thinking too dirty. Lifting the blanket, he got out of bed graciously and smiled. Where are my clothes? Mo Qingwu covered her nose and scurried out. Big brother Chuyang, I have to say, your feet last night, I almost died from the smell. Now that you've lifted the blanket, why are your feet so smelly? Minister Chu, who was wearing shorts, was stunned like a wooden chicken. After a while, he let out a strange cry. I was drunk last night and didn't wash my feet. When Chuyang finished packing and came out of the door, Mo Qingwu immediately darted into the tent nimbly, carried the blanket out and put it under the sun to dry. Mo Qingwu tied a rope between the two trees. Then she skillfully draped the quilt over the rope. She looked left and right to make sure that no one was around. Then she sneakily moved her small nose towards the quilt and sniffed it. She wrinkled her brows and covered her nose. Oh, it stinks. Chapter 480. Looking at this petite figure busying herself, Chuyang couldn't help but fall into a trance. It was as if he had returned to his previous life. When the two of them were together, the first thing Mo Qingwu did every morning when she woke up was to dry the quilt. If it was a cloudy day with no sun, it would definitely be the most troublesome time for Mo Qingwu. And every time she dried the quilt, she would definitely lean over and smell it. Then she would gently scold him with a smile. Oh, so smelly. Looking at Mo Qingwu doing the same thing under the sun as in his previous life, Chuyang suddenly felt warm in his heart. Qingwu, so nice. Life with you so nice. Facing the bright sunlight, he smiled brightly. His eyes were filled with happiness. When Gu Duxing and the others groaned and crawled out of the tent, they saw this warmth. They couldn't help but stand quietly at the side, afraid to disturb them. He was afraid that he would disturb this tranquility. As he watched, GMO suddenly had a brainwave. Then he turned pale with fright. He suddenly let out a strange cry and widened his eyes in disbelief. He hurriedly reached out to cover his mouth. Luo Kadi asked, What's wrong? No, nothing? Second Master Ji shook his head dizzily. Suddenly he raised his hand and slapped himself twice in a row. He scolded in annoyance. You unhealthy GMO. GMO, your head is filled with dirty thoughts. What's wrong? Gu Duxing and Dong Wushang also came over curiously. The four heads immediately squeezed together. I was thinking too much. GMO was a little embarrassed. The three of them were even more curious. What are you thinking about? I was thinking. GMO lowered his voice. Boss has always been straightforward with women. Could it be that he has long taken a liking to little Wu? This is a little unreliable. Boss shouldn't be such a beast, right? Don't you think so? After GMO finished speaking, he was ready to be beaten. In his mind, he would definitely be scolded for being ridiculous and then attacked by the group. But what he didn't expect was that Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang actually touched their chins and pondered for a long time. The two of them looked at each other and said in a low voice at the same time, "A little beastly, huh?" Then, at the same time, they looked at Chu Yang, who was standing there with a silly grin on his face, and then at the petite and adorable Imo Qinggu. Once again they said at the same time, "What a beast!" GMO was also startled. He stuttered, "Could it be that you also think so?" The two nodded. "It's not impossible." Luo Kadi was stunned. After a while, he stuttered, "Don't tell me that in the future we have to call this little girl's sister-in-law?" "This still needs to be observed," Gu Duxing said deeply. "It needs to be verified." Dong Wuxiang pondered. "I think it's about time." GMO opened his eyes wide. Luo Kadi let out a miserable shriek. "Stop talking about this topic for the time being," Gu Duxing said sternly. "No one is allowed to talk about it in the future. Do you understand?" "Yes." Luo Kadi said excitedly, "We only need to watch. At the same time, I can also learn how the boss seduced the little girl, how to seduce the little girl, how to—" Xie Dan Xiong walked over with a pale complexion. His mouth was still reeking of alcohol. He said, Brother Chu, you're not a human. I still have a headache. How could it be that the boss last night?" GMO and the other three opened their eyes wide in disbelief. Xie Dan Xiong wanted to cry. "He drank us to the point of collapse." The four of them turned their heads in amazement and looked at Chu Yang. Suddenly, Luo Kadi exclaimed emotionally, "This is a god. The Xie clan was completely wiped out in the battle last night. The old guys shrank in their rooms and didn't come out. How shameful. The entire clan was drinking with one person, and they were all drunk to the point of collapse? Where can I put my old face? It can't be helped. Xie Dan Xiong is the young clan lord. Moreover, everyone unanimously believes that you're the one who benefits the most. If you don't go out to entertain them, who will entertain them? Therefore Xie Dan Xiong shamelessly came out. Brother Xie, you're up so early?" Chu Yang's face was full of sunshine. He looked refreshed and calm as he stood in front of Xie Dan Xiong. "You're really beyond my expectations." Xie Dan Xiong's face turned red. He smelled the alcohol in his mouth and then looked at Chu Yang's clean and neat clothes. There was no need to mention this shame and awkwardness. Why is the gap between people so big? They finally set out again in the afternoon. Xie Dan Xiong still needed to prepare. He needed to familiarize himself with the soul-seizing flower blade. Therefore he didn't travel with the others and reluctantly said goodbye. The old guys of the Xie clan also shyly came out to see them off. They were embarrassed when they saw Chu Yang. Everyone made a decision in their hearts. I won't drink with this guy in the future even if I'm beaten to death. I'll run away as long as I see him drinking. It's too sad. The experts of the Xie clan looked at Chu Yang and his brothers as they carried 500 kilograms of star iron on their backs, and hurried on with their journey. Their faces were heavy and thoughtful. It could be said that the Xie clan had entered a period of rapid development with the core of the mysterious jade ice crystal. However, there was always a limit. Treasure. It's obviously a treasure. But a man can't become an expert if he doesn't have perseverance and perseverance. Chu Yang, Gu Duxing, and the others have taught us a lesson with their actions. Who would have been so desperate to practice martial arts at such a young age if they had been an ordinary young expert? This is just hurrying on with the journey? Dan Xiong, you must work hard. Xie Zhiging softly sighed. He looked at the silhouettes of those people who had already disappeared. He then said in a heavy voice, "This is called practicing martial arts. Compared to them, your training in the past can be said to be just a game." Xie Dan Xiong's face was full of shame as he replied, "Yes." At the same time he steeled his heart, "I won't fall behind you." Suddenly the experts of the Xie clan exclaimed in shock, "Huh? Why are they traveling empty-handed? What happened to those things that they took yesterday?" Everyone woke up at the same time. They looked towards the place where the Gu clan had set up camp. They saw that it was completely empty. There was nothing there. Everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. How did they do it? Chu Yang and the others rushed for 500 kilometers in one breath. The sky was already full of stars. So they stopped to set up camp. That night, Chu Yang began to circulate his martial power. The forging materials were piled up like a mountain inside the tribulation space. The sword point shook its head and wagged its tail as it entered the space. Chu Yang checked the medicinal herbs. They were also sent by the Xie clan. There was a big pile of them. They weren't particularly precious. But there were still a lot of heavenly treasures. Then he instructed Scratching Spirit to watch the sword point's absorption. Then he went to meditate. Scratching Spirit obviously didn't dare to relax. The sword point was like a little thief that couldn't be guarded against. The sword point would absorb all his good things if he didn't take good care of it. Chu Yang felt that his bottleneck had loosened that night. So he seized the time to make a breakthrough. He wasn't the only one. Gudu Xing and the others also had the same feeling. The main reason was that they had been hurrying on the road with heavy weights for 8 consecutive days. They had gotten used to it. But they had thoroughly relaxed in the Xie clan for a day. And this day was very important. The results of their training were reflected after they had thoroughly relaxed. The suppressed spirit qi was like 100 rivers converging into the sea, converging into a stream of spirit qi and rushing into his meridians. The 10 king-level experts of the Gu clan simultaneously felt a burst of dense spirit energy hovering over their encampment. It became more and more violent, and formed a whirlwind of spirit energy. The spirit energy from all directions converged in this silent night. It was like 100 rivers converging into the sea. It was whistling and gathering in this place. The spirit energy in this area slowly became so dense that it was almost viscous. In fact, those with low cultivation couldn't even breathe in this place. The spirit energy gathered like dense clouds without rain. It gathered and gathered again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A king-level expert of the Gu clan sucked in a mouthful of cold air. He couldn't believe it. His mouth and eyes were crooked. 5 people are about to make a breakthrough at the same time. And each of them is a king-level expert. This is simply a dream. There was no need for him to say anything. The other king-level experts had also discovered this situation. One of the senior king-level experts shouted in a low voice, "Quiet. Everyone, scatter and protect with all your strength. You can't make the slightest noise at this time." With a whoosh sound, the 10 people scattered in all directions. They vigilantly looked at the surrounding night. But they felt that the excitement in their hearts was getting more and more intense. In fact, it felt as if they were overturning rivers and seas. 5 youngsters. Breakthrough at the same time. Such brothers, such age, such strength. Finally, the vortex in the middle suddenly issued a slight sound of exploding spirit energy. Then it fiercely scattered with a whoosh sound. Then it fiercely gathered again and rapidly spiraled downwards. It issued a hissing sound. The density of the spirit energy was so dense that it even emitted a clear light green color. Phew! Gu Duxing slowly stood up with a long exhalation. He opened his eyes, and 2 sharp sword-like rays of light shot out of them. The king-level expert of the Gu clan who was opposite him happened to see this. He only felt a chill run down his spine. It seemed as if 2 blades had suddenly reached his throat. He was injured upon contact. So he didn't dare to move. 3rd grade Sword King. Gu Duxing couldn't help but feel excited in his heart. I finally made a breakthrough. Then, he looked at the other 4 people with a gaze full of concern. The second person to make a breakthrough was Dong Wuxiang. When Dong Wuxiang broke through, the spirit energy in the air poured into his meridians. Then, the crisscrossing saber energy fiercely dispersed from his entire body. It cut through the air and issued a sound of tearing silk. It seemed as if it was real. 3rd grade Saber King. Dong Wuxiang stood up next. He and Gu Duxing stood on the left and right to protect their brothers. The king-level experts of the Gu clan felt as if they were dreaming. They saw a Sword King and a Saber King breaking through at the same time. There was actually such a thing in the world. After a while, Luo Kudi and GMO stood up at the same time. They had broken through. Only the largest vortex was left in the sky. It was still spiraling endlessly. The spirit energy from all directions was still rushing in like moths to a flame. All the plants within a radius of several thousand feet were withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Yang's breakthrough required a terrifying amount of spiritual energy. Unexpectedly, it required such a huge amount of spiritual energy. Gu Duxing and the others looked at each other in dismay. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Chapter 481. Slowly, A terrifying vortex of spirit energy formed in the sky. It was visible to the naked eye and was slowly churning. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They slowly retreated and stopped 200 feet away from the vortex. The spirit energy from all directions madly rushed over and joined the vortex. In the end, it had already formed a tangible flow of spiritual energy. It was like green smoke that suddenly floated in the air. Strands and wisps of spiritual energy flew in like moths to a flame. The rotation of the vortex gradually accelerated. It was like a huge machine that was slowly starting up. Then it gradually accelerated and became faster and faster. The tip of the vortex slowly turned downwards and formed a huge funnel shape. Its tip was pointing downwards, and its target was Chu Yang's Baihui acupoint. The spirit energy from all directions is gathering like smoke. It suffocates for 100 miles. It doesn't dare to speak to the monarch. A king-level expert of the Gu clan looked at Chu Yang in shock. He couldn't believe it and softly exclaimed, "This is a phenomenon that can only occur when a monarch-level expert breaks through. A monarch-level expert's vortex has appeared when a king-level expert breaks through. Am I dreaming?" The 10 king-level experts suddenly turned pale. The momentum of Gu Duxing and the others' breakthroughs had already far surpassed that of an ordinary king-level expert. Especially Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang's breakthroughs, one saber and one sword king. Their momentum was even more frightening. And now the last one was even more abnormal. Moreover, these people were sworn brothers. With such aptitude, how terrifying would it be if all of them grew up and became fully fledged? Gu Duxing and the others also looked at each other in amazement. The momentum of a monarch-level expert's breakthrough? The speed of the vortex of spirit energy in the sky finally accelerated under everyone's gaze. An ear-piercing whooshing sound resounded, and the entire vortex turned green. Then it suddenly shrank and started to rotate in the opposite direction. Finally it shrank downwards. From the tip of the funnel downwards, it disappeared into Chu Yang's Baihui acupoint at an unparalleled speed. Chu Yang's body suddenly issued a violent explosion. His robe fluttered in the air. Mo Qingwu was standing the furthest away. She felt a sudden rush of air. She couldn't help but feel suffocated. She stretched out her hand in a panic, and felt as if she had caught something. She then opened her eyes and looked at her hand. She saw that it was a fragment of a black robe. There was a strand of long black hair fluttering in this fragment of black robe. Just like a person's yearning. How could there be a woman's long hair on Chu Yang's clothes? Furthermore, from the looks of it, it was clearly sewn into the black robe, as if he didn't want anyone to know about it. What was going on? The aura of a breakthrough spread out. Thousands of strands of sharp sword chi flew in all directions and disappeared without a trace with a green glow. Third-grade Sword King. Another Sword King had broken through. The 10 king-level experts of the Gu clan looked at each other in amazement. It's rare to see a king of saber and sword in a few decades. But 3 of them have appeared in one go today. Breakthrough. GMO shouted excitedly. He was about to rush forward to celebrate when Dong Wuxiang grabbed him. "Don't move." Everyone had also discovered the abnormality. Chu Yang had broken through. But he was still sitting there without moving. Moreover, the dense aura of his whole body hadn't been withdrawn. The huge aura of his surroundings was still revolving around him. The spirit energy was slowly rotating in midair. It seemed as if it's forming a new cyclone. Everyone looked at it blankly. What's going on? They had never seen such a strange phenomenon since ancient times. The cyclone was getting bigger and bigger, and its scope was getting wider and wider. This time the spirit energy from high up in the sky had come down. And the spirit energy from a distant place had rushed over in succession. It was like a moth flying into a flame as it joined the newly formed cyclone. The vegetation in the surroundings had already begun to wither. But it suddenly lost all its vitality with a whoosh sound. The cyclone slowly increased in size. And that light green spirit energy mist once again appeared in a dense manner. The scope of this cyclone was twice as large as the previous one. Is it going to break through again? This thing is still continuous? The oldest king-level expert of the Gu clan cried out in alarm as if he had seen a ghost. His fingers trembled and a wisp of his beard fell off. Everyone was left dumbstruck. This is too unimaginable, right? Breaking through, it's already a blessing to be successful once. But this brother is doing it continuously? Aren't you tired? Even if you aren't tired, can your meridians bear it? Then he felt that the spirit energy in his body was reacting. It seemed as if it was about to leave his body and fly out. It seemed as if it was being pulled into that cyclone of spirit energy. Quickly retreat. Gu Duxing shouted loudly. Everyone hurriedly retreated. Dong Wuxiang supported Mo Qingwu, and retreated another 500 feet. The spirit energy in the sky followed the cyclone's rotation, and formed an even bigger funnel shape. Then it went down with a whoosh. Another explosion of spirit energy was heard. This time it was much more intense than the previous one. The few king-level experts felt as if they were about to be shaken to the ground. Countless sword energies seemed to be celebrating the birth of a sword king. They actually revolved around Chu Yang's body. They shuttled up and down and cut the air into pieces. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. He moved his neck and made a cracking sound. Then he slowly stood up. He finally stopped breaking through. Several king-level experts were speechless as they looked at this evildoer. They finally felt relieved. This is really a blow to our confidence. The old king-level expert of the Gu clan wanted to cry but had no tears. He stretched out one hand towards his old companion. Then he stretched out the other hand and bent down 3 fingers. He shook them with a tangled look on his face. What? The other person was puzzled. 7 years. King-level expert Gu's face was tangled. He was speechless as he shook his 7 fingers. It took me 7 years to advance from 3rd grade king level to 4th grade. 7 years. And I'm still an ordinary king level expert. Look at him. Look at him. He went from 3rd grade king level to 4th grade, 7 breaths. I really feel that my life is somewhat meaningless. Motherfucker. He looked up to the sky and sighed. Tears streamed down his face. This gap has made me work diligently and earnestly for my whole life. How can I endure this? The king-level expert next to him was speechless. Chu Yang stood up naked. He opened his hands and a black robe appeared out of nowhere. It fluttered like a black cloud and draped itself over his body. Then he pulled it up and tied it with a belt. He looked as elegant as jade in an instant. He took a step forward and walked towards Gu Duxing, GMO and the others. He smiled and extended a finger. Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang looked at each other and smiled bitterly. GMO and Luo Kadi looked as if they had lost their parents. 100 pounds? The meaning of this finger was very clear. I'm 1 level higher than you. So, you'll have to add 100 pounds on top of the 1,000 pounds. Well, you'll have to run with 1,100 pounds on your back from tomorrow onwards. Big brother, this is too much of a blow to our confidence. GMO groaned, you can't do this. When you broke through from martial warrior to martial master, you crossed several levels at once. When you broke through from martial great master to revered martial artist, you crossed several levels at once. Now that you're a king-level expert, how can you still do this? How can we live with this? Chu Yang spread out his hands and helplessly said, what can I do? Can this thing suppress me? Dong Wuxiang's black face twitched. He snorted and said, isn't it just 100 pounds? GMO, what are you blabbering about? Old Tian is carrying 100 pounds more than you, and you haven't said anything yet. How can we compare? Luo Kadi jumped up. He felt extremely wronged. That saber of yours is only 270 pounds, okay? A bunch of evildoers. That king-level expert of the Gu clan was speechless as he looked at these 5 freaks. He sadly turned his head. I'm going back to practice. From tomorrow onwards, I'll also carry 1,000 pounds. The 10 king-level experts sighed and left. Their backs were bent and their footsteps were unsteady. Since we have nothing to do, we might as well practice our skills. Chu Yang said, Du Xing, you educate GMO. Wuxiang, you and Wolf Cub join forces to attack me. GMO burst into tears. Why am I the only one being educated? Gu Duxing revealed an evil grin. Then he suddenly pulled out his sword and attacked. On this side, Luo Kadi was in high spirits. He rubbed his palms. Big brother? Oh, let me teach you a lesson. He signaled with his eyes. Then he and Dong Wuxiang pounced on Chu Yang from the left and right. Saber light flashed everywhere and sword energy crisscrossed. Chu Yang laughed loudly. Come on. He pulled out his sword and attacked. His black robe fluttered in the wind. The 3 of them fought together. Luo Kadi immediately regretted it. That was because Chu Yang didn't show any mercy in his attacks. He suppressed 2 people with 1 sword. Dong Wuxiang was a little better because his saber was heavy. Chu Yang dodged as much as he could. However, Luo Kadi was unlucky. He was chopped by a flurry of swords and was kicked up from time to time. He flew in the air like a rubber ball. The 5 of them had just broken through. Everyone had new insights. It was rare for them to be evenly matched. This fight was really satisfying. Later, the two battles converged and launched into a chaotic battle. Sometimes they were fighting alone. Sometimes it was 2 against 3. Sometimes it was even 1 against 4. Each of them became more and more familiar with their battle techniques in the battle. New ideas and insights were constantly forced out. Later, Chu Yang, Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang, the 3 strongest links, joined forces and attacked GMO and Luo Kudi with all their might. The 2 of them were beaten until they screamed and were in an extremely sorry state. The 3 of them had the same idea. GMO and Luo Kudi were the weakest links among the 5 brothers. Therefore, they must be pressured to catch up as soon as possible. Of course, GMO and Luo Kudi were also aware of this point. The 2 of them gritted their teeth and struggled to hold on. Although they were beaten until they screamed again and again, the fierceness in their hearts was completely stimulated. This battle was fought until the east was a little bright. GMO and Luo Kudi were beaten to the point that they broke through their limits in the fierce battle. This surprised Chu Yang and the others. It seemed that these 2 fellows were really pushed to the limit. Chapter 482. One must know that being able to withstand the attacks and break through the limit in a fierce battle was equivalent to increasing one's endless power. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. GMO and Luo Kudi being able to do this would play a crucial role in their future expeditions. Early in the morning, everyone continued their journey. Chu Yang was surprised to find that his team had a total of 10 people. Except for Mo Qingwu, everyone else was carrying something on their backs. Gu Duxing and the others were carrying star iron on their backs. But the king-level experts of the Gu clan were carrying a large piece of flat bluestone on their backs. Think about it, 10 old men, and a few of them were in their 40s. But all of them were carrying mountain-sized boulders on their backs. This discovery made Chu Yang speechless. The king-level experts couldn't bear it even before the morning had arrived. Their backs were aching and their legs were cramping. They had no choice but to put down the boulders. They finally understood, the road of a genius breakthrough isn't easy to walk. It's not that you can't do it. It's just that you've already passed this age. Chu Yang said during lunch, most of you have already passed the time of tempering your bones and internal organs at martial great or revered martial artists. Therefore you can't keep up. As for these people, they have been tempering their bones since they were martial great masters. So, it's the same for tempering their bones when they were martial great masters. And it's the same for tempering their internal organs when they were revered martial artists. Chu Yang casually said, we're all king-level experts now. But, the foundation that we laid when we were martial great masters and revered martial artists is dozens of times stronger than yours. Therefore what we can do you can't do. This is the reason. The king-level experts suddenly became lost. After lunch, Mo Qingwu mysteriously pulled Chu Yang to one side. Brother Chu Yang, I found out a secret of yours. Secret? Chu Yang scratched his head. He was very surprised. What secret? There's hair on your clothes. Long hair. Mo Qingwu pouted her small mouth. She rolled her eyes and looked at Chu Yang. Oh, it's this. He took out the piece of cloth. On it, a strand of black hair fluttered. It seemed to be a strand of tenderness, but there was nothing he could do. Long hair. Chu Yang's mind was palpitating with fear as he received it. His fingers gently stroked the long hair. The long hair softly curled up in the palm of his hand. It was as if there was a woman who had placed all of her heart and all of her feelings in the palm of his hand. Suddenly, a graceful figure appeared in his mind. She stood there alone, her long hair fluttering in the wind, her beautiful face, her dreamy eyes, and her stubborn yet proud lips. A black robe covered her slim and delicate body. When she turned around, her face was covered with a ferocious mask. She looked at Chu Yang with tenderness in her eyes. From now on, I am King of Hell Chu. Isn't this what you want? Isn't this what you've planned from the start? Chu Yang couldn't help but feel pain in his heart when he heard these words. The shinobi cult was devastatingly beautiful. He transformed into a black robe. A heart of ice and bones of jade. To be the masked man for the monarch. Wu Qianqian. If there was anyone in the lower 3 heavens that Chu Yang felt indebted to, then this person was none other than Wu Qianqian. His daughter's infatuation with him had turned into flowing water, never to return. That young and beautiful girl was such a pitiful person. Chu Yang sighed softly. No wonder after returning from Great Zhao, Wu Qianqian's hair seemed to have become shorter and thinner. It was just that he didn't ask at that time. It turned out that this woman had actually given her head of fine black hair full of deep affection, and turned it into the black robe on his body. He recalled that he still had 30 or 40 such black robes in his tribulation space, sewing them one by one. Wu Qianqian must have spent a lot of effort. Presumably, every time she finished sewing a black robe, her heart would be shattered into pieces, right? Chu Yang sighed in disappointment. Mo Qingwu looked at him and said softly, "Brother Chu Yang, I'm going over there to look for Brother Lone to play." She tactfully walked to the side, seeming to be very light. Chu Yang grunted and nodded slowly, somewhat absent-mindedly. Then he took out another black robe and slowly rubbed it, looking over it bit by bit. Finally, he found a protrusion at the hem of the robe, the most inconspicuous place. Wu Qianqian had sewed her hair here. If Mo Qingwu hadn't found it by chance, perhaps he wouldn't have realized that there was such a girl's heart hidden at the hem of his black robe. This protrusion was very dense, as if it was one or several complete shapes. Chu Yang's hands trembled. He wanted to know, but he also didn't want to know. Finally, he took a deep breath and found a flat blue stone. He circulated his martial power and slapped it down. With a bang, the black robe fluttered and the fabric scattered, leaving only the long black hair. The long hair softly fell on the blue stone, showing the pattern inside the robe. It was a few fine and graceful words. "Chuyang Qianqian likes you." These words were woven with black hair, quietly appearing in front of Chu Yang. There was no doubt that all the other black robes would have the same 7 words on them. She had used a strand of her black hair to wrap around the black robe. How could her black hair be discovered under the black robe? Moreover, it was at the hem of the robe, the most inconspicuous place. It wouldn't cause any skin contact. Wu Qianqian obviously didn't want Chu Yang to find out. She just silently put her feelings into this robe. She only hoped that when Chu Yang wore these black robes, her hair would be by his side. This was her only request. This woman she loved so lowly, yet she loved so proudly. "If you don't accept me, I won't force you. I won't even say that I have my pride, I have my self-esteem. It doesn't matter if you don't love me, but you can't stop me from loving you. I love you secretly. Is that not enough?" Chu Yang's heart suddenly felt heavy. He suddenly remembered that Wu Qianqian had stubbornly wanted to wear a mask during the last confrontation between him and the Golden Horse Riders department. She wanted to fight for him, but he had stopped her at that time. Moreover, he had said, "I already owe another woman a lifetime. I don't want to owe you a lifetime." These words were extremely hurtful to Wu Qianqian. It actually caused her to immediately agree to Tai Butian's proposal after that battle, to become the Empress of Iron Cloud Nation. He remembered the sadness and despair in Wu Qianqian's eyes when he resolutely left the lower 3 heavens that morning. That kind of desperate hysteria. Chu Yang's heart ached. He only felt bitterness in his heart. He silently said, "Qianqian, I'm sorry." Now, she and Tai Butian are married, right? Tai Butian is also a good man. I can only wish her happiness. How could Chu Yang know that Wu Qianqian's so-called marriage with Tai Butian was fake? If he knew, Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. He only felt that his heart was full of twists and turns. It was as if he was in a dream. He wanted to destroy the black robe. But he thought for a long time and decided to keep it. It would be very cruel to that pitiful and infatuated girl if I destroyed it. This is her only hope for me. Chu Yang stood up. The sun shone on the black robe. He suddenly felt that the black robe on his body was burning hot. It seemed as if his skin was burning with pain. It was the burning heart of a young girl. The black robe was as heavy as a mountain. It seemed as if he couldn't breathe under the pressure. His brothers were far away. They were talking about something. They deliberately didn't look at him. They were talking and laughing. But Chu Yang knew that they were doing it on purpose. They deliberately didn't disturb his thoughts at this moment. Alas. Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. "Is Brother Chu here?" A cheerful voice came from afar. "I'm Odu Shao of the O clan. I've come to visit Brother Chu." Odu Shao of the O clan, the future poison spirit, had finally arrived. Chu Yang sorted out his state of mind. He stood up and went forward to greet him. Lower 3 heavens, Iron Cloud Imperial Palace. Tai Butian was lazily sitting on the bed. She had already removed the jade pendant, and had revealed her true appearance. Lan Meixian was sitting on one side. She was looking at her younger brother with satisfaction. The more she looked, the more she was beaming with joy. Lan Meixian had been taking care of her pregnant daughter like a diligent and responsible mother these days. In fact, she was so meticulous that even the Emperor of Iron Cloud, who had always served her like a moon surrounded by a myriad of stars, felt that she was being very considerate. Tai Butian's lower abdomen had already bulged a little. It was a sign that a young life was growing healthily. It's already been 4 months. Lan Meixian was counting the days with her fingers every day. There are still 5.5 months left. It's almost there. She should give birth in 5 months and a few days. Master, you've calculated so clearly? Tai Butian was somewhat embarrassed. What's there to be embarrassed about? It's normal for a woman to give birth. Lan Meixian was beaming with joy as she looked at her. Don't worry, my good disciple. You don't have to worry about anything with your master here. Tai Butian blushed and smiled. While Lan Meixian was here, Tai Butian had found the same feeling she had when her mother was still here. It seemed that she didn't have to worry about anything. Where's your empress? Why haven't I seen her during this time? Lan Meixian was somewhat amused as she looked at her younger brother. You little girl. Oh, you even got an empress. Aren't you harming her? She's busy these days. Tai Butian naturally didn't dare to say that her empress was king of Hell Chu. She said, I asked her to come over. Now that I'm a little pregnant, I want to discuss the follow-up with her. As she said this, she put on the jade pendant. The light and shadow changed and she turned into that emperor again. She took a few steps forward and said indifferently, Someone invite the empress over. Tell her that I have something to discuss with her. Yes, the attendant complied and left. Not long after, the pendant jingled. A sharp voice reported from outside, the empress has arrived. Second update for today. I don't know why, but I'm especially tired today. The plot kept surging in my mind, but my fingers didn't want to move. They felt as if they were rusty. Maybe I've been too tired during this time. Chapter 483. The palace maid lifted the curtain. Wu Qianqian was wearing a phoenix crown and a phoenix robe. She walked over in a graceful manner. Moreover, her walking posture was a little strange. The palace already knew that the empress was pregnant. So Wu Qianqian naturally didn't dare to neglect her. How could she expose a flaw, Your Majesty? Wu Qianqian bowed. Her posture and movements were impeccable. Empress, you don't need to be so polite. Tai Butian hastily helped her up. Then she waved her hand, you can all withdraw. Pass down my order. No one is allowed to come within 100 steps of this place. The palace maids and eunuchs retreated without a trace as soon as the order was issued. Qianqian, sit. Tai Butian stood up and said with a smile, there are no outsiders here. You don't need to pretend anymore. Ah. Wu Qianqian naturally recognized Lan Meixian. After all, she had seen how powerful she was. On the contrary, Lan Meixian didn't know that this delicate empress was the black-robed and gloomy king of Hell Chu. Hearing this, he smiled and sat down in a relaxed manner. This is the empress? She's a stunning beauty. Lan Meixian looked at Wu Qianqian with satisfaction. Then she praised, her eyebrows are curved but unyielding. Her eyes are clear but not evil. Her face is as straight as a hibiscus. Her nose is tall but gentle, stubborn and proud. She's a stunning beauty. Senior, you flatter me. Wu Qianqian bowed slightly. We're currently fighting in the south and north. However, the lower 3 heavens are already invincible. There aren't any decisive battles. Iron Cloud's unification of the world is inevitable. Tai Butian said, therefore the matter of the emperor will be celebrated by the world at that time. Qianqian, you must be prepared. Wu Qianqian smiled and said, that's my duty. Your Majesty, please rest assured. Tai Butian laughed out loud. Then she began to instruct Wu Qianqian on some daily life matters. Wu Qianqian memorized them one by one. Lan Meixian added a few words from time to time. However, Lan Meixian suddenly became startled. She didn't speak any more. She only looked at Wu Qianqian. The more she looked, the more she frowned. Finally, Lan Meixian suddenly stood up with a bang, while Tai Butian was speaking. She looked at Wu Qianqian and exclaimed in surprise, mysterious female body? Wu Qianqian suddenly raised her head. Ah. Lan Meixian quickly walked to her side. She grabbed her wrist and carefully examined it. The expression on her face became increasingly excited. Mysterious female body. It is indeed the Xian female body that is rarely seen in 10,000 years. She sucked in a breath of cold air with a hiss. Then she turned her head and looked at Tai Butian. She smiled bitterly and speechlessly. This Iron Cloud Imperial Palace really makes me speechless. I found an icy heart jade bone the moment I arrived here. And now I found a fake phoenix virtual phoenix. She actually has the mysterious female body. Moreover, it's the mysterious female body? Lan Meixian's cultivation was already at the peak of the present age. But she still couldn't recover from the shock of this fact for a long time. Even though he had already confirmed this fact, he still felt like he was dreaming. If that was the case, then Iron Cloud Imperial Palace was a place that martial arts masters would be most happy to visit. What? He had casually picked up a younger brother with the most satisfactory aptitude. It was very difficult for a disciple to become a disciple of a great master. But it was even more difficult for a great master to find a younger brother who could inherit his legacy and surpass his master. Tai Budian and Wu Qianqian's exceptional aptitude couldn't be found even in the upper three heavens. But two of them had appeared here at once. Wu Qianqian was somewhat alarmed because Chu Yang had told her that it was best not to let others see her aptitude. This was very dangerous. There were many people in the world who loved talents rather than being jealous of talents. What's your current cultivation level? Lan Meixian stared at Wu Qianqian. Then she nodded, revered martial artist. You're only one step away from becoming a king. What are you practicing? She looked at the girl in front of her in puzzlement. You're in the lower three heavens, and you're already a revered martial artist at such a young age. Aye. Wu Qianqian nervously looked at Tai Budian. Tai Budian nodded and comforted her. This is my master. Don't worry. Ice Jade God, Wu Qianqian said weakly. Ice Jade God. Lan Meixian tightly knitted her brows. What is this? Why don't I have the slightest impression of it? How would she know that Chu Yang had changed the name of this technique? Even Wu Qianqian was confused. She didn't know anything about it. Let me see if you can exchange a few moves with me. Lan Meixian stretched out her hand, and a gentle force swept away all the messy things in the room to one side. A large area of the floor was left empty. But there was no sound of movement. Tian, you go to one side. You just watch. Lan Meixian said. Tai Budian complied and sat in the corner. Master, you have to be lenient. Don't worry. I'm only testing her limits. It's not a life and death battle. Besides, how would she have the opportunity to fight if I wanted to deal with this little girl? Lan Meixian confidently smiled. I'll suppress my strength to the level of revered martial artist. Then I'll give her a try. It would be a pity if such aptitude isn't cultivated properly. Come, little girl. Lan Meixian's eyes flashed with excitement. She had only shown this kind of excitement 3 times in the past 100 years. The first time was when she had seen Yang Ruolan. The second time was when she had seen Tai Butian. And the third time was this very moment. Good. Wu Qianqian took out a small pillow from her clothes. Then she tidied up her clothes. She looked at Lan Meixian and shook her arms. Suddenly, a burst of cold aura was emitted. Her eyes had also turned into the color of the dark night at this moment. Yeah. Lan Meixian exclaimed in surprise. Then she saw Wu Qianqian's body sway. She turned into a series of afterimages and rushed towards her. She put her fingers together and used a sword move. Then a chi sound was heard from where her fingers were pointing. And the sound of sword energy breaking through the air was heard. Lan Meixian was gobsmacked. I didn't expect this little girl to be so special. Her movements are also so strange. She tilted her head and dodged. Then her hands attacked like orchids. She was a great master of martial arts. So, she would have been disgraced if she had been attacked by a junior. How could Wu Qianqian know the level of her opponent? I'll fight to my heart's content. I'll fight to my heart's content. I'll fight first and then talk later. She won't hurt me anyway. So, I'll practice. Wu Qianqian's body became even more unrestrained under the influence of this thought. And her sword became even sharper. Lan Meixian relied on the strength of a revered martial artist for a while. But she was at a disadvantage. She had lived for many years and had reached the peak of self-cultivation. But she still couldn't keep her face intact. She snorted and spread her hands. It seemed as if thousands of orchids had bloomed at the same time. Wu Qianqian's feet staggered. Her body moved like a strange fish, and escaped from Lan Meixian's attack range. She had retreated and scathed under this attack. Lan Meixian shouted, "Good." Then she rushed forward and attacked like a violent storm. Wu Qianqian clumsily moved left and right. She gradually couldn't keep up. After all, this was her first time using this kind of fighting technique. So, she wasn't proficient in many areas. Lan Meixian sensed her unfamiliarity. So, she slowed down her pace to give her time to catch her breath and familiarize herself. Lan Meixian floated out after a long while and sat on a chair. Enough. She sized up Wu Qianqian with her eyes. It seemed as if she was looking at a peerless treasure. That was because she had clearly felt that Wu Qianqian was making progress in this short period of fighting. In fact, her spiritual power was also increasing unceasingly. She had never seen such a cultivation speed before. This woman is perfect in terms of aptitude, perception, and character. She's like a piece of unpolished jade. But she's already emitting an unparalleled brilliance. She'll inevitably emit a world-shocking brilliance if she encounters a skilled craftsman. Then she'll transform into an indisputable treasure. It's a pity that you two have to stay in the lower three heavens with your aptitudes. Lan Meixian muttered, Tian, how about I take away your empress after you give birth? Take away? Tai Butian and Wu Qianqian asked in surprise. Yes, Lan Meixian took a deep breath and said, her aptitude is simply a treasure in the lower three heavens. She'll be able to make a breakthrough in the shortest time if she goes to the upper three heavens. Moreover, I'll recommend a great teacher to her. Her achievements will be limitless. Tai Butian muttered to herself. Then she turned her head and said, Qianqian, what do you think? Wu Qianqian pondered for a long time. Then she said, I want to go. But I'll go after I'm done here. Won't I be able to hear news about Chu Yang from time to time if I go to the upper three heavens? We won't be together. But I'll be able to help him if my strength increases. Even if I have to sacrifice my life without him knowing. I, Wu Qianqian, am willing to do it. Tai Butian nodded and said, in that case, you'll be sick for a while after giving birth. But I'll announce that the Empress has passed away after giving birth. Alas, you'll go to the upper three heavens. Wu Qianqian's eyes revealed a grateful look. She said, yes. Not just her. You too. Lan Meixian looked at Tai Butian. Did I accept you as my younger brother so that you can become the emperor of the lower three heavens? Me? Tai Butian stared blankly for a long time. Then she smiled bitterly and said, how can I leave? How can I leave? Of course you can't leave for the time being. But you'll still be unable to leave as long as the child in your belly grows up a little. Lan Meixian smiled. If it's a princess, it'll naturally take a little longer for you to make arrangements. But if it's an empress, Tai Butian's breathing became rapid. She hadn't thought about this matter all this time. Or it could be said that she had deliberately avoided it, because she didn't want to have any ulterior motives mixed in with saving the person she loved. But now she realized that the birth of her child had solved the big problem of the Iron Cloud Empire being childless. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.